If we could have approval of the city commission minutes for the regular city commission meeting minutes for October 6th, 2020 and October 20th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston. Is there a second from Commissioner Drosky?
I didn't hear. I'm sorry, yeah, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Our acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes, our Marine Advisory Board for January 16th, 2020, the Hillsborough Inlet Meeting District meeting minutes from September 14th, 2020, September 21st, which is the budget hearing, and September 21st, the regular meeting. The Community Appearance Board meeting minutes for September 23rd, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston, second by Commissioner Drosky. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Our approval of our city commission agenda for November 10th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston, second from Commissioner Drosky. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. We'd also like to have an excused absence for Vice Mayor Parnes, who is under the weather today. Looking for a motion.
Motion to excuse.
We have a motion from Commissioner Drosky,
Second.
second from Commissioner Preston. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Mayor Gantz, my apologies. I'd like to request, I know that we did just approve it, but I would like to request an amendment to the agenda
Okay.
to remove item 25 that is no longer necessary. And I will provide I'll have our CFO provide a presentation during city manager comments to explain that further. And in addition, I'd like to add an item to the agenda.
Okay.
With the city commission's approval for an emergency purchase for a contract to repairs for Fire Station 75.
Motion to approve is amended.
We have a motion from Commissioner Drosky to amend it.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Hudak. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes. Clerk.
Tonight's meeting will be conducted in person with limited physical attendance due to social distancing requirement, as well as virtual meeting via Zoom. For those attending physically, it is important that all conversations be held to a minimum, as the entire facility, including side conversations, will be recorded. Additionally, for those participating via Zoom video, who do desire to speak during the public comment and public hearing segment, simply cover your mouth, hold the video until the participant's tab is visible. Click the tab and on the right, a panel will appear. At the bottom of the panel, a small button marked raise hand should be clicked to show your interest in speaking. Speakers will be recognized by their profile name on their hand. Anyone calling in using a landline or mobile device, simply dial *9 and their event will recognize the last 3 digits of your phone number. All speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. A 1-minute extension will be granted.
Thank you very much, Dr. Burke. Our first item up is a bit of recognition for a longtime city employee. Mr. Roger Pitts has been a dedicated and caring supervisor of the Department of Sustainable Management since February 8, 1995. Roger's been a hardworking employee that's always had the residents and his team's best interests at heart. He's always dedicated himself to training on all the various types of equipment used in the department to improve his performance, support his team, and provide outstanding service to our residents. Roger never hesitated to hop on a collection truck to help assist his team and ensure that there were no materials left. Please join us in recognizing Roger on his retirement and wish him all the best in future endeavors and thanking him for 25 years of incredible service. Roger? We appreciate it, and this will be here for you. Our second item is a proclamation. It's presented to the Small Business Saturday Coalition and Women Impacting Public Policy in recognition of Small Business Saturday. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 30.7 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses employ 47.3% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. 62% of the U.S. small businesses reported they need to see consumer spending return to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2020 in order to stay in business. I think we can all agree with that. There are 4,400 small businesses that are located in the city of Deerfield Beach alone. The city supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. For the past 5 years, the city of Deerfield Beach has actively promoted Shop Local campaigns and endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Falling between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday is essential to the preservation of neighborhoods that compose the landscape of our local economy and which its unique culture. This year, our role is more important than ever due to the impacts of COVID-19 on our business community. Please join me in recognizing Saturday, November 28, 2020, as Small Business Saturday, and encouraging residents to shop small, not just on that day, but all year long. Thank you. Commissioner Preston, we'll let you do the honors.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to give this next award. Mr. Lawrence Straussberg is a business person in the city of Deerfield Beach. He is also a business person that makes all of us better when it comes to human kindness. A resident of Deerfield Beach had suffered a brain aneurysm. And the aneurysm left one of our residents in a debilitated state. She had to work very hard in therapy to get a little bit better, but in the end, she was basically confined to lying in a supine position in bed. The family was devastated. They called me and asked if I could assist them in finding a recliner for her so she could at least sit upright and change just the view of what she had to deal with. Unfortunately, the family had a lack of funds and they weren't able to do that. I went to Deerfield Beach thrift store, and this is the store right here on Hillsborough Boulevard and 2nd Avenue, and it's been there forever. I went to the Deerfield Beach thrift store to see actually what they had. And I was actually having a conversation with one of our staff members about what we might be able to do in assistance. And in fact, if there was something that we could do for our residents. And the staff member was saying, Commissioner, I don't really think that we can help at all. Mr. Straussberg, overhearing the conversation, said to me, tell me what's going on. I told him the entire story of what was happening, and he just said to me in one sentence, he said, take the recliner. And I said, are you serious? And he said, take the recliner. I called the family and told them what Mr. Straussberg had just done in real time. And I put them on speaker where they told him how appreciative they were, in tears. And the tears actually started then and they haven't stopped because of Mr. Straussberg's generosity, this lady who had a brain aneurysm is not laying in bed all the time. She is able actually to recline. And she's very comfortable with that. And when I told her what was happening, she said, please tell them again how thankful we are as a family. Mr. Straussberg represents what is best in people to help others. And I would like to say to him, thank you, Lauren Straussberg, so much for your kindness because it has truly made a difference. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next, we have a presentation by FDOT regarding Powerline Road. Mr. Santucci.
Thank you, Mayor, and I believe this presentation is going to be provided virtually.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Chris McCurdy, and I'm a roadway engineer with the Florida Department of Transportation. I'm here tonight along with our consultant, Marlin Engineering, to share with the Commission details of a resurfacing project on Powerline Road that is currently in design with the limits of the city of Deerfield Beach. In the months of January and September of this year, we met with city staff from the Environmental and Engineering Services Department to discuss our project and improvements that the city would like to include as part of FDOT's R project. Now, I would like to introduce Betsy Jeffers from Marlin Engineering, who will be delivering tonight's presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. As Chris mentioned, my name is Betsy Jeffers from Marlin Engineering, and I'm the consultant project manager for the Powerline project. Next slide, please. This project is the resurfacing, restoration, and rehabilitation of Powerline Road from south of Northwest 30th Place in Pompano Beach to south of West Drive, which is the main entrance to quiet waters in the city of Deerfield Beach. Next slide, please. The main intent of a R project is to extend the service life of the roadway and enhance highway safety. The scope for this project includes milling and resurfacing of approximately the 3-mile limits, upgrading sidewalks and ramps where they don't meet ADA criteria right now. We will be striping the roadway to accommodate buffer bike lanes, which there aren't any out there now. And at signalized intersections, we'll be providing high emphasis markings at the crosswalks, which is the zebra type markings. We'll also be updating pedestrian push buttons and adding new ones to meet new standards and upgrading pedestrian signals to the new countdown types, as well as adding backplates to signal heads for higher visibility. Those are all the new standards for Broward County. Next slide, please. Powerline Road is a 6-lane divided urban major arterial with a design speed of 40 miles an hour, and it's also posted at 45 miles an hour. I'm sorry. Here you see the proposed lane configuration, we are reducing the travel lanes from the existing 12 feet to 11 feet, and this allows for a 6.33 buffer bike lane to be introduced to give bikers a nice lane to travel in. The existing sidewalks vary from 5 to 6, depending on whether there's a buffer sod strip or not, and they're gonna stay as they are. The project does not include lighting at any time or any decorative features. If the city wants to include enhancement for the project, such as a decorative lighting or crosswalks or extending the existing shared use path currently out there, if you want to extend it to the entrance of Quiet Waters Park, you would have to fund those enhancements completely. Next slide, please. We have already started the data collection and the survey of the project and are set to start the plans production. Our first submittal is initial engineering, which is going to be in March 2021. At initial, the plans are 15% complete and all scope items are included in the plans. Then we will have the constructability phase submittal in September of 2021, at which point plans are approximately 80% complete. The last review phase is the bidability phase, which is scheduled to be completed in March of 2022. If the city intends to add any enhancement to the project, FDOT needs to have the commitment letter in December, this December of 2020, so that we can include those enhancements in the design. Production with sign, and then the funding for whatever enhancements the city would like would need to be into DOT by the bidability phase, which is in, as I mentioned, March of 2022. Production, which is the sign and seal set of plans, is set for July 2022, and letting will be in November 2022. Construction will begin approximately 4 months after that. Next slide. This is pretty much our quick presentation. I believe there'll be a little more discussion later.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffers. Commission, you have any comments or questions? Commissioner Hudak?
Thank you, Mayor Gans. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a real challenge with this project. As you know, or you should at least know, FDOT is now doing the same type of project for a federal highway. And you're basically at Southeast Second Court, you're terminating the bicycle lanes and you're picking them up after Hillsborough Boulevard. So basically, the bicyclists will have no option but to play chicken with cars for those 2 blocks until there's another bike lane. And when I look at your project, you terminate at one road, West Road, and our city goes for another 2 miles just past Hillsborough Boulevard. So what are the individuals that are utilizing these bike paths to do for those other 2 miles? And that's the challenge I have with this is there's, yeah, we got a project that's gonna be 3 miles long and it's gonna stop here. Well, it stops at 75% of our city. And there's no thought process into say, well, you know what? If we're gonna do this project, at least complete it through to the county line so that at least you have some consistency. You look what you did on Dixie Highway and you've got a bicycle lane and Hillsborough Boulevard that basically goes from the right-hand lane, and a Dixie Highway goes into the middle lane. And again, it's Death Race 2000. So, you know, the idea of creating these bicycle paths, I understand. Putting them on these major thoroughfares, I don't understand. And terminating them in the middle of a thoroughfare is first of all, a bicyclist is going to be crazy to even utilize it. And second of all, if they are, you know, brave enough to try to do it, then they're taking their lives in their hand for where these projects terminate to try to continue their path. So that's what I don't understand. You know, the road looks pretty on a piece of paper and all of that, but when you're living it, and you know, there's a lot of challenges that do not seem to be, you know, thought out. So I was wondering if you could give me a little insight as to why you would terminate it in towards the end of our city and not at least go to the county line. Thank you.
Hi, I'll try to answer that in the name of DOT. For in this particular case, and it happens a lot, and I understand your concern, but in this particular case, this segment of Powerline has been programmed for resurfacing funds. So they don't have, it doesn't always get programmed 10 miles at a time, like you're saying, or even 6 miles at a time. These are the limits. There is and I will have to look up when the next project would be after this one, but I know there's projects south of this project coming up. And I don't know if Chris could answer if there's projects north towards the line, but the idea is that as we go through, you do get now a buffer bike lane, which is not the typical that we used to have, that it was just like a 4-foot bike lane. This one, you do have a buffer, and it's a safer ride for the bikers. And now, mind you, these are bikers who ride the streets. For younger bikers, they would most likely continue to use the sidewalks.
There is a project programmed for north of where our project ends. I don't have the timeline on it. It's in the work program, which means it's within 5 years. I don't have details on that project. I can provide it to the commission, but I can't provide it today.
I mean, you're making it safer for 3 miles. So before they get to this path, they're dodging cars. And then after this path, they're dodging cars. And I understand you're trying to utilize these funds, and the city appreciates you thinking of us and trying to improve these roads. But to do it piecemeal like this, to me, you know, until it's all completed, nobody in their right mind would bicycle on any one of those 3 roads that I mentioned.
So this is a
And whether
resurface.
you're younger, whether you're older, whether you're a professional bicyclist, it baffles me. It really does.
In this particular case, though, you do have the entrance to the park, so it does have a good terminus when you think about it, because you can, once you start either at Sample, which is a major thoroughfare, which does have bike lanes, and you want to get to Quiet Waters, you do have that. You would have now the lane all the way to the entrance of Quiet Waters. So I know sometimes it's not a good terminus, but I think in this particular case, it is a fairly good one, because you end at a facility, a recreational facility, right? And you start there. And then the idea is, if we don't do it now, then when would we do it? Because you would have to resurface the road to get those markings in. So you have to do it systematically, otherwise you'll never get them.
I've
Thank
said
you,
my piece.
Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. The other big concern that I have with this project, and thank you, Commissioner Hudak, for your comments, is that where this project ends on West Drive, you know, south of 10th Street, Powerline Road is a 6-lane facility. North of 10th Street, Powerline Road is a 4-lane facility. And as you're heading northbound on Powerline Road, after you've gone north of 10th Street, you have 1 lane to the east that turns right into West Drive, that traffic going northbound doesn't know ends. And that becomes kind of a Frogger situation at West Drive, with that traffic in the right lane going northbound, all of a sudden at the last minute trying to cut over into the 2 lanes going northbound. And I think, I don't know if this project is the one to address that, but, you know, repaving without addressing that situation, to me, doesn't make any sense either. There has to be something with that right lane that turns on to right, you know, eastbound West Drive, that the public needs more notification that that road does not go straight through, because that always is a big problem, not only with people, like I said, coming over at the last minute, but also just not realizing that that lane does not go straight through. And I think that needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah, and that is something we can address on this project, certainly. We will work into adding more signage and more communication to the drivers, so that they know ahead of time that that lane's going to drop. That's certainly something we can include in this project.
I think you're gonna need more than signage, to be honest with you. I mean, signage doesn't really seem to work in South Florida. I don't know that people even read the signage, to be honest with you. I think it's just decoration for most drivers. What seems to be work is, as you know, like the delineators, like right here on eastbound Hillsborough Boulevard at Dixie Highway, they put the delineators in because there's 2 lanes, Hillsborough Boulevard, that go east, whereas the right-hand lane, you know, turns southbound on Dixie Highway. The department put delineators there, which helps at least in the middle of that intersection, to at least help traffic know that that third right lane does not go straight. Maybe something, I'm not an engineer, but I'm saying something more than signage needs to be considered, because that is a problem. That's my district, and I know that cars love to jockey back and forth at that intersection. So something more than signage would be needed.
Right, we could coordinate with traffic operations in the district, and they can see if there are any other additional safety improvements that we can do there, and they can actually do a study to see if there's issues with crashes, which would warrant extra, that kind of applications there.
I have one other question. Maybe I missed it during your presentation. I know you said that July 2022 is, I believe, the documents, and then 4 months after that, you said construction would begin, but I don't think you said when construction would end. Do you have that?
I didn't say when construction would end. It's typically about 16 to 20 months for a resurfacing job this long, but we don't have a set. That would just be an estimate. That's why I didn't. It's not set in stone until we have the plans ready.
Okay, so 16 to 22 months. Okay.
Commissioner Hudak,
Thank
you have your hand raised again. I'm sorry.
No,
Yes. Just one more point to piggyback off Commissioner Drosky's last statement with regards to the number of lanes and how they go from 6 down to 4. We have that situation on Hillsborough Boulevard and Dixie Highway, where it goes from 6 to 4. And when that happens, the bicycle lane is moved into the middle of the road. So please look at options to where you're going to be placing these bicycle lanes to avoid a potentially serious situation as we have right now on Hillsborough and Dixie Highway. I don't know if any of you have traveled that road, but I do ask your engineers to look at what was done and to avoid something like that in the future. I would appreciate it.
Mr. Curdy, I understand it's the policy of the FDOT to have these connectivity and to put in the bike lanes on all of these projects, but to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense when a lot of them end up being roads to nowhere. And if you're going to have a policy in place, and this is the approach you're going to take, it would seem to me a common sense approach in how you handle the terminus on this project is essential. So I would hope that that message gets to Mr. O'Reilly and we make some changes on that.
Okay. So on the state highway system, if the speed limit is 45 miles an hour, we have to provide bicycle facilities, and we're restriping to make them be buffered bike lanes, which would be safer and wider bike lanes for the cyclist. And again, as Betsy said, these are bicyclists who would be in the roadway, and it's not for the family bicycling down Powerline Road. So we are required to provide bicycle facilities on the state highway system for this speed limit. So as we go through and resurface, we can keep improving and aspiring to improve standards, but we have to do this. This is a resurfacing job, so we can only do what we can do within the resurfacing job. We can't, this isn't a mobility project that has a 10-mile limit. So we're going to do it piecemeal, as Betsy was saying.
And that's fine. I understand it's your policy, but I suggest that we come up with a better way to handle how this project ends. And that would go not just for this project, for all projects. And I'll talk to Secretary O'Reilly about that.
I understand. And in this particular project, you don't have, right now, for this one, you won't have, because the bike lane ends there. So it's not going to connect to it. So you won't have that jump, but that is the typical, that's the standard way to treat a lane that's going from the outside towards the middle. There's, so far, that's what the state standard is calling for. I haven't seen anything differently, even nationwide. But it's definitely something that is an issue, and we can look at it. As I mentioned, in this particular project, the lane ends there, so you won't see that. The bike lane ends at that location.
I understand what you have on the books and what your policy is, but applying it to the reality of what that situation on the road in which we travel probably more than you do, we're trying to explain to you that how you end this bike path is critical. And we're asking you to please be open-minded and please take a look at the situation that is existing and not just follow what the policy in the book is on that. That's all we're asking.
I understand, and we will bring back to the district the issue you guys are seeing in Hillsborough. We'll bring that back.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any more for the presentation? Thank you very much, ladies, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
City Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Item number 5 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, considering vacating and abandoning a 15-foot wide drainage easement located at 28 Northeast 11th Way in connection with the redevelopment of parcels within the Little Harbor neighborhood to accommodate new single-family homes, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Do we have a presentation, Mr. Santucci?
Thank you, Mayor. I have Mr. Powers here to provide an explanation of this item.
Good evening, Eric Power, Director of Planning Development Services with City of Deerfield Beach. Yeah, Heather, if you just put there we go. Thank you so much. Today's item is actually very simple. This is a single family lot at Little Harbor, which the developer wishes to build a new single family home. The requirement is when you abandon an easement, and you must come before City Commission for the abandonment. The applicant has already dedicated a new drainage easement, which can be seen here in red. And then the yellow is the abandoned. So you can see that there's relocating. So no change to service will occur.
Excellent. Thank you. Commission, do you have any questions?
I do. Is there any type of infringement or anything, any existing infrastructure in that area that might be infringed upon?
No, sir.
Does anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Thank you, Mr. Powers. Appreciate it. Anyone from the public? I don't see anyone online. Go ahead and close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hudak, second by Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Dance.
Yes.
Item number 6 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, amending the capital improvements element of the city's adopted comprehensive plan by revising and updating the 5-year schedule of capital improvements set forth in table 10.3 in accordance with section 163.3177 Florida statutes, as more specifically set forth in Exhibit A, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. And this is first reading of this ordinance.
Mr. Powers, I'm assuming that's why you got full position. Save yourself a trip.
Good evening again, Eric Power, Director of Planning Development Services, City of Deerfield Beach. This is again another very simple item. It comes before you every single year. As you know, the state of Florida is a growth state. It requires every municipality have a comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan is updated every 7 years. However, one element, which is the capital improvement element, is updated every single year, where we update the 5-year capital improvement plan. And that is required to be sent to the state by the end of the year. So this is a 2-item reading. So of course, here before you tonight, we'll begin the second reading in December, and then we'll be sent up to the state as required by code. Really all that happens with this is that the capital improvement plan that was approved during the budget process back in September is essentially items that were updated from that plan or taken the element and updated as well. And then we bring that document before you. So no new decisions are made tonight, no items are being discussed tonight. It's everything that came from the approved, adopted capital improvement plan that the City Commission approved back in September. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. We'll open to the public in one moment. Yes. Commission, you have any comments? Okay, we're going to open it to the public. Ma'am, if you want to come to the podium, please. And if you could just give us your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Lisa Farr, I live at 1100 Southeast Avenue. And I have a question.
I'm so sorry, miss. Can you speak right into the microphone?
Okay, do I have to repeat that or you?
Just your name, possibly, for the record.
Lisa Farr, 1100 Southeast 15th Avenue.
Thank
I wasn't here in September when the capital improvement plan was approved and adopted. I'd like to ask a question. Is there any item in that capital improvement that dealt with the bridges in the code?
Okay, we'll get an answer for you. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public here to comment on this item? I don't see anyone online. Close it to the public. Mr. Powers, can you answer that? I'm sorry, so.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and address that. Yes, in fact, those bridges are addressed in the capital improvement plan. If I could ask Mr. Good in the back, if you could assist the resident on where to find that information, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Could you give us an idea of what it is in the capital improvement plan regarding the bridges and what exactly that money is put aside for?
Sure. So in the capital improvement plan, Mayor, is the rehabilitation of the bridges. So back in, I want to say 16, 17, when the county originally tried to adopt the half-cent surtax for infrastructure, half-cent transportation, they had pulled all the projects they had asked every city to provide a list of all the projects that they were anticipating, which included those bridges. So at that time back then, it was slated for rehabilitation. That also ended up into the existing Broward County surtax funded projects plan for rehabilitation. So that is what's in there currently, is the rehabilitation project. But of course, we want to make sure that we get the public input from the impacted residents on the future of the bridges moving forward, as it's, although those funds are allocated for the rehabilitation, we could, although we have to ensure that, so we could amend what we currently have in the surtax plan. However, that would significantly delay our ability to get the funding from the county for that surtax funded project.
Okay. Thank you. Did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Commission. So I'll reopen it to the public. If you'd like to come up to the podium, come right up and just give your name and address for the record, please. Commission, we're going to reopen it to the public.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Myra Tucker-Yakel. I'm a resident in the Cove at 1549 Southeast 6th Street. And I'm just a little curious about how the amendment, in what direction the amendment would be going. If it is something that is going to be rehabilitated, the bridges, if you're going to amend to remove or replace them, is that what we're discussing now, or is that, am I not understanding properly?
I think we'll get some clarity from their city manager, if that's okay. And that would hopefully will answer your question on that.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Is there anyone else before I close it to the public? Come on up, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tom O'Day. I live at 1529 Southeast 12th Court. And Mayor Gans and Commission, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I salute all our veterans today, especially the United States Marine Corps, celebrating 245 years. A statement about the bridges. Families in the Cove community use these bridges at 15th and 13th Avenues to walk, ride bicycles, and drive to the beach in the Cove Plaza. We depend on these bridges to enable emergency services such as police and ambulance to arrive at our homes rapidly in case of emergency. Moreover, they add unique beauty and charm to our neighborhood, and their destruction will increase emergency response time and make it difficult for residents south of the bridges to walk or ride bikes to the beach or the Cove Plaza. This would A, harm our quality of life, B, reduce our property values, and C, jeopardize our safety. Here are some facts gleaned from the City Commission presentation on October 27th, where Ms. Priscilla Sigelnik, I didn't butcher that name.
That was great.
Our city engineer spoke. Number one, there's county funding available right now, as Commissioner Hudak alluded to repair these bridges. Let's agree to use these funds to repair the bridges in the short to medium term. No bond issue would be required. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. In fact, the cost of repair is about the same as the cost of demolition that came out in the course of the engineer's presentation. This would appear to be the most cost-effective and popular way forward for the short and medium term, and it reflects the will of the majority of Cove residents, as I understand is being reflected in the survey that's going on right now. The repaired bridges will carry us until grant funds from the federal and state government can be applied for allocation. That was stated plainly during Ms. Sigelnik's presentation. Let's use these county funds to repair the bridges now until we have funding from DOT or FDOT to replace them or improve them structurally, as has been recommended. According to BSO, emergency response times for those of us south of the bridges will increase 4 minutes if these bridges are taken out. While that may not seem like a lot of time for some, imagine experiencing a break-in or the acute emergency of somebody in your family and being told you have to wait an additional 4 minutes. I think that 4 minutes would seem like an eternity. Emergency egress and evacuation routes will be complicated by the removal of these bridges. We live in an area prone to storms and flooding. Closing off an area of exit or egress will pose a danger to our community. Traffic would increase for many neighborhoods. The city engineer has calculated that over 2,300 vehicles per day would be added to 12th Avenue alone.
Would you like another minute?
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Adams? Sure.
I'll only take another minute. In addition, cross streets such as 5th and 7th Court would experience a great increase in traffic. We call upon Commissioner Hudak, with all due respect, to demonstrate that he represents the wishes of his constituency by stating unambiguously that he will support the retention and improvement of the bridges on 13th and 15th Avenue, as the people are voting for in the survey. And the vast majority are in favor of replacement and renovation. We call on the respectfully on the commission and Mayor Gantz to support District 1 by voting to make use of the Broward surtax funds to repair and retain the bridges on 13th and 15th Avenue, and to begin the process of applying for grants and from federal, state, and agencies to bring these bridges up to standards. We should be building bridges in this community, repairing bridges, not tearing them down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else who'd like to serve, come on up, just your name and record, your name and address for the record, please.
Robert Diamond, 1332 Southeast 7th Street. And I am a 40-year resident of Cove and same address. This bridge issue has been coming up for the past 20 years. This is the 4th time I've been up here for this. The first time with the situation was brought forward that the utilities are also coming across that bridge. So in order to demolish that bridge, you would also have to change the water and other utilities that go across it. And at the time, that was deemed that it was going to be too expensive. So I don't know if that has changed in the past 20 years or not, but that's something that I haven't heard anyone bring up. Also, the bridge itself is actually about the same width as the neighborhood streets in our neighborhood. Whereas 15th Avenue is a much heavier utilized road, and as a result, it has sidewalks. It's wider. It's used for heavier traffic. When that bridge was shut down, we had cars coming through our little streets that aren't made to carry 400 or 500 cars extra a day coming through here. And I think that should be a real consideration also, that the traffic is going to be going up 12th Avenue. There's school kids who are walking up and down that street to go to school at St. Ambrose. Just, so many things that I haven't seen that haven't been talked about on this. And I would also like to ask that the gentleman before me, I absolutely support him 100%. I think that's exactly the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the picture? Come on up.
Hi, thank you. My name is Martin Silverman, and I live at 1248 Southeast 8th Street in this beautiful area called Cove. And I really feel very strong that we need to save our bridges. I really truly enjoy being able to walk my dog, being able to ride the bicycle if possible, and I enjoy being able to have access to the Cove area where we have our businesses, and restaurants, and breakfast in the morning, bringing my dog to sit outdoors. The quality of life that we have right now, I think, will be totally changed if we destroy our bridges. It's very, very important to save our bridges for the same reasons the both gentlemen before me have expressed. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else with a puppy shirt? Come on up. Nice shirt.
Good evening, I'm Warren Fronty. I reside at 1549 Southeast 9th Street, Deerfield Beach, Cove. I'm also a baseball coach for the Deerfield Parks and Recreation. When I have off time, I do try to run one of my companies, either my crane company, my marine company, or something of that nature. We do have our own barges, our own cranes, and if we can help facilitate, take care of these bridges to help you guys, more than happy to. Again, my name is Warren Fronty. Callback number is 954-675-1868. I'm more than happy to help donate some of the work with my barges.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public who care to comment?
I didn't realize you were actually talking about bridges that might not be.
I tell you what, you've already spoken once on the item rather than let you come back up, but there's going to be another opportunity with the public comment. And I have a feeling that you'll be allowed to speak again there. I know the guy that runs the meeting, so I think I'll let you. We have someone online. It just says iPad 2. Mr. iPad or Mrs. iPad 2. Unmute your mic to speak. Just name your name and address for the record. When the person has their hand raised, please. We're gonna have to skip you if you don't.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
I'm
Your name
sorry.
and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Julie Gilmore, 1000 Southeast 14th Drive, Deerfield Beach. Our family has lived in the Cove since 1979. We've seen a lot of changes, and they've been wonderful changes. Our family was raised here, went to school here. Long story short, I agree with everything everybody said. Our Cove is a very unique community. The gentlemen that have spoken, I mean, we have people that are here that use these bridges all the time. It's safe to ride your bike to the beach, and that's the beauty of being in our area. The gentleman that has offered to do the work is amazing. Thank you very much. Also, what I am very concerned about is the funds have already been allocated to fix these bridges. And knowing what I know with politics, being here for many years, I say that if we don't decide on this, it will slip us by. And people that want the bridges demolished for their own gain, for deep water, will get their way. So I urge the commission, the committee, and the especially you, Mr. Hudnick, in our district, to please fix these bridges and do not demolish them. The money is there. Let's decide. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Megan Hasselman.
Hello, my name is Megan Hasselman. I'm a resident of the Cove at 1522 Southeast 10th Street. I'd just like to echo what the other residents have stated about the Cove bridges, specifically that we should repair and or replace them to maintain the current state that we have in the Cove today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Else online? I don't see anyone online. Is there anyone else in the chambers want to speak?
Mayor, it's Heather. Tinka Ellington wants to speak.
I'm sorry?
Tinka Ellington.
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, this is Tinka Ellington. I'm a resident of the Cove at 1517 Southeast 6th Street in Deerfield Beach. And I would like to echo similarly to my neighbors and residents before me that my family and I and a lot of our neighbors really enjoy being able to walk and bicycle the community. We feel that if the bridge got torn down, that this would really cut our neighborhood in half. And I don't think that's of value for our beautiful little area here. We feel strongly that it should either be repaired or made into a bicycle and pedestrian path so that we can keep the neighborhood intact the way it's been now for many, many, many decades. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elaine?
Yes, hello, my name is Yolaine Bonner. I'm a resident also here in Deerfield in the Cove at 866 Southeast 12 Terrace. And I just wanted to agree with everyone else that has spoken about the bridges. We really like to get them fixed. We use them all the time, every day. And, you know, I think it would really split the community in half, and that's just, you know, not something that we're, would like to happen. It also will increase traffic to our little streets with, you know, those bridges being closed and people trying to get to from, you know, Lighthouse Point to the beach and back and forth. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lopata? Marisa? You might want to unmute yourself.
Yes, I've been trying. Yes, hello. Can you hear me? I've been pressing that unmute button, but it wasn't cooperating. Can you hear me now?
No problem.
Okay.
Name and address
Just
for the
want to.
record, please.
Perfect. My name is Marisha Lopato. I'm at 1508 Southeast 6th Street. So I'm right on the corner of the bridge. And I think Priscilla made a great presentation. One of the questions I had during that meeting was the width of the bridge if it were to be replaced to current standards. That is, I think, where Jeannie Mock and I did, and some other neighbors who are on the corners realized that the bridge, a new bridge potentially would be exceptionally large. And it's not that the impact it has on our properties as much as the amount of traffic and how much higher it'll go. And I think that option of a new bridge would have the effect of kind of tearing up our neighborhood as well as if we tear up the bridges. So I would ask everyone to sort of give it a little more thought. Please go back to the presentation, everyone, neighbors, dear neighbors, to go and see what the width and the size and the height and certainly the cost at $2.5 million plus per bridge. There are a lot of concerns about bringing a bridge to today's standards. So please look at that and make a wise decision or consideration. And that's ultimately what I would just encourage everyone to do. I would, just the new bridges would break up our neighborhood a little bit, increase traffic, et cetera. So that's just my 2 cents worth. Thank you so much.
Excellent, thank you. And my apology with butchering your name. Nicholas? Your name and address for the record, please.
Can you hear me? It's actually Stephanie
Hi,
Volok. I don't know how to change the name on this thing. I'm at 1648 Southeast 4th Court. And I'm an engineer, but I'm not your kind of engineer. I'm not a civil engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer, but a lot of my friends are civil engineers. So I did ask the question, does this bridge need to be built to FDOT standards? Because it seems like the design is huge, and I have friends on that canal, and I want them to have higher access or open access, but at the same time, I don't want my community split up either. And I'm worried about my friends that are south of the bridge because I'm north of it, doesn't affect me. If there were a case of an emergency vehicle needing to get there and every second counts in a heart attack and whatnot like that. And I saw that the bridge was raised 4 to 5 feet in the design. And I'm wondering if that is a requirement, that it has to be raised 4 to 5 feet, or if you could raise it 2 feet to give a little more clearance, but not make it such a behemoth of a bridge wide. Because my civil engineer friend who works on FDOT projects said that it seems like the reason that it is so wide is because of it has a short span. There's a very short waterway that it has to cover. And so you have to, in order to raise it 4 to 5 feet, you have to make the bridge that much wider in order to accommodate the FDOT requirements. So is it that we requested that the bridge be raised 4 to 5 feet and it became a 60-foot wide bridge? And the other thing is, I'm not sure if there's a center median, a concrete center median. And also the picture that I saw from the last meeting showed that the pedestrian sidewalks were 6 feet wide. I think the requirement's 5 feet wide. The lanes have to be 10 feet wide. Can we do one bike lane or no bike lanes and just a pedestrian side so that the bridge isn't such a behemoth with a $2.5 million price tag with massive girders and massive beams required for it? These are all questions that I have as an engineer on maybe there's a middle ground to be met.
Thank you. Anyone else online? I don't see anyone else online, so I'm going to close it to the public. I don't see anybody speaking, raising their hand out in the audience. Obviously, this item touches on the bridges because it is in our improvement plan for the 5-year improvement plan. So there's some discussion on it. We might not have all the answers for you tonight. This is a process. One thing I will tell you is this is not something we're looking to slip by. I have a feeling you're onto us if you were. No one's trying to slip anything by. And there's a lot of people that thrive in this information. And this is everybody's very passionate about this because this has a tremendous impact on where you live and your quality of life. So I love the participation and I love the civility also, and I appreciate that. No one up here is trying to pull a fast one. We certainly wouldn't have workshops and advertise it and talk about it numerous times at different meetings. This is something that we will discuss again, obviously, several times. And we're going to make sure that, we're in crazy times right now. This is a big decision. We want to make sure that we have input from everyone on it. So I don't want anyone to think that, we might not have some of the answers to these questions right now, but I'm going to ask staff to please make sure they get these questions and make sure they're part of the next presentation that we have the next time we meet, or something we can put online to make sure we get some of these questions answered. Unless there's some magic that someone's immediately got it and answered some of these questions. I did not think so. Commissioner Preston?
Yes, yeah, thank you. I just want the residents to know that we're here in service of you. Whenever there's a question or there's a challenge about any of the things, especially in where you reside, we're obligated to always see it from your perspective, to understand what it is that you're saying, and you can rely on our staff members to do that. It's also important that you understand that there, you know, we look at things from a lot of different perspectives, but none greater than the resident. The resident is the most important. So as these things unfold, you can rely on the city commission to look at it from your perspective and to do whatever we can do to mitigate any challenges that you might have.
Thank you. Commissioner Hudak?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Preston, for your previous comments. And I just want to echo those comments as well. We're here for the entire community, not any special interest groups. None of us live in the Cove. So realistically, we are not adversely affected by whatever happens to these bridges. This is the community's decision. There are, histories with regards to how you travel that will affect your everyday lives. There's expenses with regards to your taxes, depending upon which decision that you make. And our goal is to be as transparent as possible and to give you every option that we can find in making an educated decision. And I want to stress the word educated decision, because it's nice to have Nextdoor, it's nice to have Facebook, but those are usually provided with hidden agendas. We had a presentation, a District 1 meeting a couple of weeks ago on this very subject. We had about 15 people attend in person and about 43 to 45 people attend online. That presentation was recorded and is available on the city website. There is also a survey that over 670 residents of the Cove have taken to let us know your opinion of what you want for the bridges. What I request all residents to do of the Cove is to view the presentation first. Don't take the survey just based on the information you're getting from Nextdoor or from Facebook. So please view the presentation. It's a tremendous presentation that city staff put together that provides a lot of different options, as well as the cost associated with those options. Once you have viewed the presentation, then please take the survey. The survey will be up until the 15th of November. So you got 5 more days. And this way, not only are we hearing your voice, but we're hearing an educated voice. And that's what's most important, is that we get an educated voice, not a voice based on, misinformation or half information, or a information with a hidden agenda. So please tell all of your neighbors to view the presentation and then take the survey, because this decision, as you can see by the attention it's getting, is vitally important to that Cove neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to note that approval of this item tonight does not impact any future decision that's made in regards to the bridge. So, and as it is in the CIP, it is in the CEI, and that item is a plan, and the public input that we are seeking right now is, as you discussed, Mayor, is part of that process. So the approval of this item, once again, does not impact any future decision made on the bridge.
we had the flexibility to make changes.
Correct.
Obviously, you know, I've been sitting up here for a long time, and I've seen, and the gentleman said he came up here before. I remember all these conversations. You know, if we need to extend the time period for people to respond to the survey, we certainly will. We feel that there hasn't been enough input on this. This is a major decision. It's not something we're taking lightly. I respect the fact that we want to make sure we hear from all of the residents regarding this, but I will say this, in all the years I've sat up here and had this come up before, I have never understood I've never understood how removing those bridges would improve the Cove or our city. We want to hear from everybody because anyone who's watched the presentation, as Commissioner Hudak said, I encourage everybody to watch the presentation, because if you do, you will realize that the choices are not as simple black and white. There are pros and cons for every single one of these choices. The beauty in this is somewhere in the gray area. You take a little bit from and realizing that we have limitations that are put upon us by FDOT, by how we use that money, but the solutions are somewhere in there. And I think if we all work together and listen to each other, I think we can come up with the solutions. I know there's people who wanted to talk a lot about this. I'd rather move this item along. We've talked about this a lot. There will be another opportunity for the public portion to be heard. If you would like to talk about bridges again, that's all right. Okay. Can we come back to you?
Mine's real quick.
You have to come back up. You come up here. I'm going to reopen to the public. You will be the final person.
Lynn Tilly, 1101 Southeast 15th Avenue. I really think you do need to extend the time for the survey. My neighbors and a lot of the other people that I've spoke with didn't know about it. And we've been trying to get the word out with flyers and Nextdoor and all of that to get online and watch the presentation and go ahead and do the survey. But I think the time is just a little too short with all the people that didn't realize it was out there.
No, not a problem. Thank you very much. Ourselves, the city sent out over 600 flyers to communicate to the residents. And you put it on Facebook, you put it anywhere on the internet, and you can put as many flyers as you want. There's always going to be people that say, I never saw it, never heard of this. But that's okay. We'll take our time to do it right. That's what we need to do. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. Commission, any other questions on this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion for Commissioner Hudak, second for Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Dan.
Yes.
Item number 7 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending the City of Deerfield Beach land use plan map designation for 4 parcels totaling approximately 5.7 acres located at 201, 221, 231, and 299 North Federal Highway from commercial and residential moderate to residential irregular, 48.6 dwelling units per acre, providing for amendment of the future land use map of the comprehensive plan accordingly, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. It's first reading.
Thank you. I understand we have Mr. Mealy here to make a presentation.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. We have some slides to show. I think someone at City Hall is helping me with these, so if we could go to the next slide, please.
Mr. Mealy, you might want to speak a little closer to the microphone if you could. We are having a little, it's very soft.
How's this?
That's great. Before you make your presentation, City Clerk has her light on, so I will recognize her. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to outline the contributions made by Mr. Nolan. As soon as I can pull those up, I will. Okay, so according to the City of Deerfield Beach Code of Ethics 2009-006, the applicant's representative, Dennis Nolan, made the following campaign contributions to Commissioner Todd Drosky, $500 on January 10th, 2017. Mayor Dan Vance, $500 on February 14th, 2017. And Commissioner Hudak,
Mealy.
Thank you. Dennis Mealy, 200 East Broward Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, on behalf of the applicant. You can see up on the screen right now the subject property. The southern portion is the currently known as the Eller Building and the parking lot both west of it and north of it. And then the balance is vacant property all the way from 2nd Street to 4th Street. If we could go to the next slide, please. So this is the current land use plan map designation for the property. You see the property outlined in black. The portion that's red is commercial land use. The portion that's yellow is residential land use, 10 units per acre. That little yellow portion is the back parking lot behind the Eller Building. If we can go to the next slide, please. The proposed land use would be irregular residential, 48.6, and would include the entire property, both the commercial portion and that small portion in the back that was residential, that was yellow on the old map. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the current zoning, the front portion that was red on the land use map, that's all the way from 4th Street to 2nd Street on the frontage on Federal, is zone B2. And then the small piece in the back that's behind the Eller Building is zoned RM10, which matches the land use category for that parcel. If we could go to the next slide, please. So this is a view from Eller Street or 2nd Street looking north. And you'll see kind of running down the middle of that slide, going north and south, is an FP&L power line. So you see the poles and the multiple wires mounted on that pole. The reason I'm showing this is we have gone to FP&L to ask them if we can bury the power lines running behind the property. So you see that line of poles that runs all the way down the middle of this drawing. Those power lines and those poles would be buried between 2nd Street and 4th Street. And so that the staff has made that a condition of approval. If this item is approved, that we must do that, which we will do. Also, you see these little control boxes along Eller Street or 2nd Street. We'll be screening those either with landscaping or with some kind of an artistic wrap or something of that nature so that it looks better. Also, you'll see when we show our plan later, we also have some pedestrian improvements along Eller Street and parallel parking along Eller Street as well in our plan. If we can go to the next slide, please. So this is a site plan view of the property. Now you have Federal Highway along the bottom. You have Eller Street or 2nd Street along the left-hand side. And so what we're showing here is we've already been to the DOT to get our access approval. And so you see where that gray arrow is along Federal Highway, that's the entrance in and out of our parking garage. It will be a secure parking garage. So you'll have to have the proper security fob or other mechanism to get in and out. And then of course your guests will have to arrange to come in with your permission allowing them in. And then if you look at kind of the upper left-hand portion of the drawing, so that's the southwest corner of the property, that's the portion that's the residential RM10 today. And what we're proposing for that portion of the property is just a landscape amenity area, a courtyard area, and then a small parking lot. So this would be where you would have like an Amazon van coming to make a delivery, or if someone is coming to the leasing office because they want to rent a unit, that's where they would be able to park. And then you'll see right where those words parking court are located, there's a little porte cochere that gets you into the building. That's where the leasing office is. So basically what we're doing is having all of our traffic concentrated on coming in and out on Federal Highway, as opposed to going on 2nd Street. The 2nd Street entrance really just takes you to that little parking court. It doesn't get you into the building or into the parking garage for the building. So it's a very minimal amount of traffic. Also, you'll see along 2nd Street, we're showing kind of in that gray area where we'll have an enhanced pedestrian way. This area kind of leads you into the beginning of the Pioneer Grove area. So we've looked at the Pioneer Grove design guidelines for how to have this walkway work properly with the necessary landscaping and buffering. You'll also see we're showing some parallel parking capability along Eller Street, along our frontage. The building itself, we're proposing a 5-story building, 5-story parking garage. The residential building wraps around the parking garage so that you're not looking at parking. Along our western property line, I'll go into in more detail, but with our ability to remove the FP&L power lines and put them below ground, we will be able to have a very dense landscape buffer between us and our residential neighbors to the west, including an 8-foot wall, as well as trees, shrubs, and other landscaping to provide a good buffer between ourselves and our neighbors. We also have landscape buffering around the building on the north, east, and south as well. You see that the way the building is set up, we have the pool court and the courtyard. Those are 2 recreational amenity areas for the residents of the building that will be at grade level. If we could go to the next slide, please. So this is focusing on the landscape buffer on the west side of our building where we're adjacent to residential. And you see the proposed 8-foot wall, and then the heavy landscaping of trees and other landscape material along that portion of the building. And you see here, this is really showing you, I guess, kind of the northern portion of the west property line, because you see the parking garage there to the left, and then to the right where the residential building picks up. And then, of course, you see how where the residential building picks up, you have some additional width of buffer area there as the building steps in and out. We can go to the next slide, please. So this is just showing a line of sight. You see our building on the right, and I'm not suggesting our building will be yellow with gray accents or anything. This is just to show proportionality. And then you see the 8-foot wall that's proposed and all of the landscaping that would be where the power lines are today. And the idea is to make it so that someone who is in the adjacent single-family home neighborhood looking in this direction has their line of sight blocked as much as possible by landscaping and other materials. We could go to the next slide, please. So this is the west elevation, and I wanted to show you that we have a variety of elevation heights here, with the garage, of course, being able to be a little bit lower, because even though it has a 5th level, it doesn't need a roof over it, and it only needs parapets so that you hide the views of the cars. Now, I want to point out that currently, with the B2 zoning on the property, you could build buildings as tall as 75 feet. That's what B2 allows. The elevation shown for this parking garage portion of the property is approximately 40 to 45 feet. And then the residential portion a little taller than that, but still well below the 75-foot height limit currently allowed in the B2 zoning that exists on the property today. The back portion that has the RM10 zoning would allow buildings as tall as 35 feet. We're not building any building on that back portion. We're just doing the small parking court and the amenity area and plaza, which is all at grade. So we're building a significantly lower height than we could do with the current land use and zoning in place on the property today. If we can go to the next slide, please. So these are just some examples of the types of buildings you might have with a 5-story building. None of these are exactly what we're doing. The city has a coastal architectural palette for this area, which we will accommodate. So I'm not suggesting that any of these are the coastal that Deerfield Beach may have in mind, but we'll certainly work with your staff and your folks to make sure that we meet the architectural standards for this area. If we can go to the next slide, please. We were asked about heights in the area. Right, this is building right across the street from us, the River House building, and that's a 6-story as compared to our 5. This is just on the other side of Federal Highway. If we go to the next slide, please. So we always do a comparison of traffic, and the way we do this traffic comparison when we're doing a land use map amendment, we look at if you built out the property the way the current land use plan would allow, what would your traffic be? And then we compare it to what we're proposing to do. So I want to make sure that I point out, this is not a comparison of the traffic based on the Eller building and the vacant property that's out there today. This is a comparison based on if you simply built out the Eller building property and the vacant property according to commercial land use, B2 zoning, with that little area of residential, what would you do? So let me just kind of walk through this. So at the top, you see where it says future land use map or FLUM trips. So what we do typically is we, and this is from Broward County, and all the cities of Broward County basically follow this, that you look at the gross acreage of your commercial property, and the assumption is that you can fit 10,000 square feet of building on a gross acre. Keep in mind that an acre is 43,560 square feet. So it's less than a 25% coverage, which is a very conservative number. You could actually probably do more in many jurisdictions. And then you add in that small area of 10 unit per acre based on the size of the piece at 0.6 of an acre, you assume 6 dwelling units. So when you look at what you could do under the current land use map designations, the daily trips would be 3,834, the AM peak hour or the morning rush hour, 179 trips, and the afternoon rush hour, 333. However, when you have shopping, when you have retail, the traffic engineers let you take a reduction in your traffic because the assumption is that some people that pull into a shopping center didn't make a special trip just to go there. They were already driving on Federal Highway. They might see it and they might pull in. So for the commercial development that could go there, you actually make a reduction. And you see that reduction is a little bit more than 1/3 of the traffic. So now that drops the current land use map designation traffic to 2,541 trips all day long, 119 in the morning rush hour, 221 in the afternoon rush hour. Now, if you compare that to our plan for 277 mid-rise multifamily units, we have 1,508 daily trips, 93 in the morning rush hour, and 118 in the afternoon rush hour. So you see that we are a significant reduction from the traffic that would be produced if the property was built out according to the current land use and zoning designations. We have 1,033 less trips a day, 26 less in the morning rush hour, 103 less in the afternoon rush hour. So we always like to do these comparisons because people are always concerned about traffic. And when we do land use map amendments, it's important that we look at if you built it out the way it is now versus if you did something different. So these are the slides that I had to show. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And at the end of the public comment period, I'd like the opportunity to respond. But let me add, we did have a community meeting via Zoom. We are committed to having additional meetings going forward if they are needed. Keep in mind that this is the first reading of a land use amendment. If we are successful tonight, then this would go to the Broward County Planning Council for a review, go to the Broward County Commission for a vote, go to Tallahassee for all the state review agencies, including the DOT, the South Florida Water Management District, and all the other state agencies. And then only after that, we go back to the County Commission for a final vote and then come back here after that. So we've got several months between this first reading and second reading so we can go through that county process. In addition to that, after the land use amendment is done, we will also have to rezone the property and site plan the property. So there may be specific concerns that people have regarding design or height or size or driveways or whatever else it may be. For the land use amendment, all we are doing is making the change from the current designation to the proposed. We're setting a cap for the maximum number of units. It doesn't guarantee we get them. And it doesn't specify height. We're showing you height and we're showing you a plan because we want you to see what we're proposing to do. But the approval of the land use plan amendment only approves changing the map. It doesn't approve the final design. As you know, we will have to be back before you for that. So this is the first of several times you will see this item on the agenda and on the P&Z agenda, et cetera. But other than that, if you have any questions, be happy to answer them. And again, I'd like the opportunity to respond at the end of the public comment as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Santucci, city staff, have any comments?
Staff has no additional comments at this time, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll go first because my opinion should be a surprise to nobody at this point. If you read last week's Pelican, I'm quoted in there as having had a preview of this project with Mr. Neely and his staff. And I, for one, believe that this could be a gateway project to the city of Deerfield Beach. I'm excited about it if it's done correct. Mr. Mealy showed some, examples of what this project could look like. Again, we're only at the land use map amendment tonight. We'll have the zoning and site plan, at a later date where we can really critique the details of this project. But the examples that he's shown, I would like them to even be, I told him in my meeting with him, be bold, because when you're coming in from the city of Boca Raton or leaving Deerfield Beach to go to Boca Raton, this is going to be the project that you see. This is going to be the hallmark of North Federal Highway in Deerfield Beach. And if it's done right, it could be the impetus for redevelopment of that North Federal Highway corridor here in the city of Deerfield Beach. So basically, there's a lot of pressure, I think, on Mr. Mealy's applicant here to do this right and do it bold. Because it can really be a boon, I think, to the city of Deerfield Beach, rather than that empty lot that's been there since the beginning of time. And then you have the Eller building, which is slowly deteriorating right next to it. So my opinion is not a secret. I'd like to work with Mr. Mealy going forward and make sure and hold him to the boldness of the examples that are up there going forward. But I think this is something that could be a really good project for the city of Deerfield Beach. And I'm kind of excited to see it coming.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Preston.
When we look at eventual project impact to the residents, I would like to ask staff, do they have any special concern from the city's perspective? And that's one. And I would like to know, obviously for the developer, this will be a positive. But why would this proposed land use change eventually be a good thing for the city of Deerfield Beach? I understand the developer, why is it good for the city of Deerfield Beach? And when I see these traffic, studies and outlines and that sort of thing, it always works in favor of the developer. I've never sat here and any developer says, you know what? We looked at the traffic and it didn't look good, so we're gonna do A, B, C, and D. It's always that it's good for the developer. How can the residents in the area have confidence that they're not going to be challenged with a lot of traffic, extra traffic that they don't have now, with the eventual impact of this project in their community?
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to try to answer part of that?
Sure, go right ahead.
So, Commissioner, one of the things we do is we hire a traffic engineer to produce a traffic analysis, and then the city retains a traffic engineer of its own to review that analysis and to make recommendations. And you may recall on some of the other projects we've had in the last couple of years, for example, I think of the Crystal Lake one where the homes are being built now. The city's traffic engineer recommended some improvements, which we of course built. In fact, well, one of them we didn't build because he asked us not to, but instead just to write a check. Generally, your traffic engineer will make recommendations for improvements and then we make them. Even though we believe the traffic is less, and even though I believe your traffic engineers will confirm that it's less than if we built it out according to the current land use and zoning, if there's improvements that are needed, all they have to do is ask, and we'll look at them. And if there are ones that should be made, they will become conditions of approval as we move down the line, whether it's as part of the rezoning or part of the site plan.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Commissioner Hudak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Mealy.
Thank you.
A couple of things that I want to point out or address. The residents in that area are used to having a vacant lot. So The traffic that is associated with that vacant lot, of course, with the exception of the 4th of July for your fireworks and Christmas for your Christmas trees or for Halloween for your pumpkins is nothing. That lot is been purchased and it's going to get developed. Now, if it gets developed as a commercial property, the traffic impact to that community is going to be substantially greater than if it is developed into a residential community, as Mr. Mealy has just pointed out. So sometimes we have to look at what is the lesser of two evils, I should say. That property is not going to be a vacant lot. And that's something that as a community, and this is my district, but that's as a community, we do have to wrap our heads around. The traffic is going to increase because something is going to be there. So right now, what can be there is a commercial property like a Target or a Walmart or something of that nature that has a lot more traffic than a residential community, which is currently being proposed. So I understand there is going to be additional traffic, but we have to look at that. The other thing we have to look at, and I'm going to throw you a curveball, Mr. Mealy, is 2 blocks away, there's a fire station there that's going to be adversely affected by those additional residents. So I think we have to look at the impact that it's going to have on that fire station. Everybody knows, you know, public servants are near and dear to my heart because of, you know, my father and my family being public servants. So I know that we're doing some improvements in that area. So maybe city staff and the applicant can kind of look at ways to help out that fire station because it will be adversely affected by those additional residents that we want to make sure that our first responders can take care of. So those are kind of the things that I wanted to make sure that the residents wrap their head around, that is not going to be a vacant lot. That lot is going to be developed. And you know, what do we want it to be developed into is, I guess, the mind frame that we have to come into this project with. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to open this up to the public. Madam Clerk, I guess someone has written in. You can have that read for the record, please.
This email was received from Stephen Dallas. Dear Chairman and members of the City Commission, my name is Stephen Dallas and I own a residence located at 14 North Federal Highway, Unit 319, Deerfield Beach. This proposal is far too dense for the location. If the density were keeping the neighborhood multi-unit, multi-story buildings, the proposal could be a fine addition to the neighborhood. The setback of the dwelling units from Federal Highway as proposed is inadequate and not in keeping with similar residential buildings in Deerfield Beach. Current zoning density promotes a reasonable coexistence between commercial enterprises and the peaceful, well-balanced use of dwellings and area amenities throughout the community. This proposed project is likely to greatly affect that harmony in a negative way. Locating the entrance or exits on Federal Highway rather than on Northeast Ellis Street is ill-advised in that there is a traffic light to regulate traffic activity to and from this location already, and it should be taken advantage of if the proposal has not already been removed to do so. A 5-story residential building set so close to Federal Highway is unprecedented and should be foregone in that location in favor of some project, conforming more closely to zoning, which will undoubtedly be brought forward eventually. Where all the potential pets, service animals, and comfort areas of so many residents expected to relieve themselves day after day, year after year in such a highly dense location. The constant increase in traffic, noise, and exhaust pollution to and from this location from food delivery services, personal service providers, private transportation services, utility trucks, freight delivery services, moving.
I'm sorry, City Clerk, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm getting comments from the public out in Zoom that they cannot hear you. So if you could speak a little bit closer to the mic. Thank you.
To expect the vehicles of all these people to not spill over to neighboring locations is naive. The neighboring parking lots will likely be targets for a myriad of vehicles seeking to alleviate the stress of finding a place to park in such a dense location. This may be expected to be a constant source of friction, further degrading the peace and tranquility of existing neighbors. Throughout Deerfield Beach, buildings of this height have been located hundreds of feet from the adjoining roadways for important reasons. This proposal should not be allowed to avoid expedition. This location labeled underutilized by the proponent should not be relegated to a future as a tremendously overutilized parcel, as would the case under this proposed use. Please do not permanently and dramatically alter the density of this neighborhood.
Thank you. There anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item online or in the chambers? If you come up, just your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Marcus. I live at 228 Northeast 9th Avenue. I've been an 18-year resident, right behind where this proposal is. And the majority of the residents there have been there 20 plus years, way beyond. It's always been a quiet, peaceful, safe neighborhood. And my concern is, of course, for the continued peace and safety for families, for the residents that live there. Also, is this residential building targeted toward a certain group of people, families, single, elderly? Who is it targeted for? And if it is targeted for families or all different types of home orders, or how about the schools? What about the overload in the schools? Schools are already overpopulated. I know a lot of them are doing it online because of the situation with COVID. But being that there's the elementary, Deerfield Elementary right there on Eller Street, they have the entrance and the exit for drop off and pickup for the kids. And it gets really busy at those times where school's starting and finishing. That adds a lot of traffic at that time, so it adds more traffic as well. And then also the overload of that elementary school right there. There's one middle school in the city, and then there's one high school in the city. And I know there's a lot of different avenues for kids to do school, but if they were to go to their local school, I think it would be a little bit of a problem as an overpopulation for the students and teachers there. Also, question about the traffic. What Ms. Preston said, it always looks good on paper, but in reality, it gets a little more complicated. If it is proposed as a 5-story, 277 unit building for residential, supposing each unit has 2 vehicles per unit, that's over 550 vehicles per, for that little area. I agree with the resident who wrote in as well. It does seem a little too much for that area, for that little area. The building itself, it's more of like a fort, so it kind of seems a little out of place versus the apartments or condos across Federal Highway on the east side. Yes, it's an older building, but they're a little more set back, so it does look a little more proportional. It's not so overwhelming on the land plot. And also for the residents there in that neighborhood behind,
Would you like an extra minute?
please,
Sure.
thank you. If it is 5 floors, and I saw in the picture, there is gonna be balconies, and even if there is a 8-foot wall for privacy for those homes right there, the people in the higher units are gonna be able to, you know, look down into the privacy of those backyards and even beyond, because when you're higher up, you can see further. So I just feel that that would be an invasion of privacy for some of those homes right there. And yes, and I'm just concerned about the traffic. If it is the entrance on Federal Highway for this building, for this residential building, entrance and exit on Federal, they would have to, if they're coming from the south, they would have to pass the light at Elder Street, go to the U-turn that is near Duffy's, do a U-turn and get over to get there. And if they are coming from.
Your time's up, man. Thank you.
If they're coming from the north, then it's.
Thank you very
gonna be
much.
backed up.
Is there
Thank you.
anyone else that'd like to speak at this item? Sure.
Hi, my name is Lisa Farr, I live at 1100 Southeast 15th Avenue. I have a question. One is, what is the difference between?
Your time's not up, don't worry.
What is the definition of residential moderate versus residential of regular dwelling? And what I would like to see on Federal Highway is a little bit more green space. Our Federal Highway, all the trees have gone out from the median. It really, in parts of it, looks barren. It looks terrible, actually. And it would be nice to have more green space for the community surrounding it, to actually not have to look at the floating. Maybe they can, I don't know what they can do, but I'd like to see a little more green space on that plot of land. Because I don't think the percentage of green space to the cement building is really an appropriate ratio from the problem.
Thank you. Yes.
I didn't say
You will at the end.
Okay. So I need to by myself again?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, introduce yourself.
Marty Silverman, 1248 Southeast 8th Street, Deerfield Beach. I second her concerns about the drawings as well. I thought they were too close to the street. And I'm also seconding the concerns of the young lady's fathers who spoke about the lack of privacy and the intrusion of having such a large building leaning over their private homes. I mean, it sounds a little bit too much. But I also have another question that I'm trying to get it answered, is if this building is supposed to go forward, which seems to be might be the way to go, what discussions have been probably, brought up as far as providing then some of those apartments for low-income people? You know, we have a huge issue in Broward County for people to live. Housing is a major issue here. So if we're going to allow a developer to build something that probably bring some revenues to the city, but what about also looking after housing? Because housing is a major issue here all across Broward County. Don't just know.
Absolutely, thank you. We're going to answer. Anyone else in the public here to comment on this item? Are you coming up to speak? No? Okay. Anyone else? Is there anyone else online? Let's see.
Mayor Gans,
Yes.
I did receive a chat from Kent. He asked what will be done to stop cut-through traffic on Northeast 9th Street if access to the parking lot can only be done from the southbound lane on Federal. We need to make sure they don't take 9th and then Northeast 4th, which is single-family residential. And then Tinka Ellington would like to address the commission again.
Sure, go right ahead.
Hello again, thank you. Tinka Ellington, 1517 Southeast 6th Street in Deerfield Beach. I just wanted to make a point as a real estate agent. I'm a big fan of this project and rezoning this piece of land. When you're coming from Boca and driving into Deerfield Beach, there's nothing really that presents our city in a very good light. When you're entering from Lighthouse Point or coming from Pompano, all these cities up and down the federal highway corridor have modernized, have condo buildings and apartment buildings. And even though I feel for the neighbors and the residents behind that building, it would be definitely modernization for our city and something that would make it look much more favorable, in my opinion, for other people and new residents to come into the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, and we don't need plenty.
Kent, I see your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Just your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Ken Stern. I live at 889 Northeast 5th Street, which is in the corner right behind there. So I drive past the vacant lot for the last 20, 25 years, I guess. And absolutely, I think something needs to be built there. The only issue I have, I left that chat on there, is that we've always had pass-through traffic. And looking at the plan that he showed, if the people are coming from the north, or I'm sorry, if they're coming from the west, everybody's going to cut through Northeast 9th Avenue just to make that catty corner to 4th Street, and then back around to the parking lot. Probably 10, 15 years ago, Northeast 4th Street, we put speed humps in there. And at one point it was even, slated to be a one-way street so people could go out but not come in and make the cut through. With the maps, people don't do it as much as they used to, but that's the only thing that myself and some of my neighbors were talking about, is really the cut through traffic through 4th Street and Northeast 9th. If there's not a U-turn on Federal Highway for them to make a U-turn to get into that parking lot, that's the only thing.
Excellent. Thank you, Ken. Is there anyone else care to comment? I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public. Okay. Mr. Mealy, can you answer some of the questions that were presented?
Yeah. Yes, I will. I must say that some of the speakers, I couldn't hear everything they said. So if I missed something, please remind me. I'll try to answer all the ones that I could hear clearly. So first, there was a question from Commissioner Drosky about architecture. We have hired MSA architects to design this project, probably the premier architects for multifamily in South Florida. They're on the line with us tonight. They've heard you. I've talked to them, and I've told them we expect their very best for this project. And I think we'll be able to deliver that. Commissioner Hudak was asking about the fire station. I know the fire department will review all of our plans as part of the DRC process. If they have concerns or things that need to be done, obviously we will handle those things as part of our zoning and site planning. I don't think they have any specific comments on the land use amendment, but that's not unusual. They really weigh in more when you get into the individual design. So first, there was a question from the public about what are we targeting and how will that impact the area? So basically, this is a building with 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. We are not planning for 3-bedroom apartments. That issue alone will greatly reduce any school-age population we will have. However, we did do the analysis that's required, and we got a letter from the school board that's part of the backup for the item tonight. All 3 schools that these students would attend, Deerfield Beach Elementary, Deerfield Beach Middle, and Deerfield Beach High, are all considerably under-enrolled and are planned to be under-enrolled during the 5-year forecast period that they do for land use amendments. So we don't anticipate a great number of students from this project, but even when you factor in the numbers that the school board uses, all 3 schools have sufficient capacity to handle any students that would be living here. There was a question about 2 vehicles per unit. As I pointed out, we have 1-bedroom units, we have 2-bedroom units, we have studios too. So some of the units will have 2 vehicles, some of them will only have 1. There was a question about people on balconies on upper floors being able to look into someone's backyard. This issue came up when we were at the Planning and Zoning Board. And I think one of the Planning and Zoning Board members said it better than I could. You know, the two things that you would look at here if you don't change the land use and zoning is a shopping center or an office building. If you have a shopping center, it would not be tall, but you would have the back of the house behind the residents' homes. You'd have the loading areas, you'd have the dumpsters, et cetera, all the things that go in the backside of a shopping center. If you had an office building, it could be even taller than our building. It would clearly have windows pointing to the west. At least as was discussed at the Planning and Zoning Board, it seems to be a better neighbor to have a residential building behind your single family home than to have a shopping center or an office building because it's more traffic, it's more external issues with the back of a shopping center, and it's also the same issue with people looking out of a window into a yard, except those are people that are working there instead of living there. U-turns are allowed on federal, and I think that the comment that the last speaker made, Kent made, is the exact type of thing that we do when we look at traffic engineering. Going back to the question Commissioner Preston asked earlier, you know, how do we make sure it works right? We can look at these numbers all day long about how many trips come from commercial or how many come from residential. But then the important part is to do what, and I'm not sure if Kent is the gentleman's first name or last name, so I'll just say Kent, what Kent was saying earlier. You've got to look at the traffic patterns. You've got to look at how people get in and out to make sure that you're not driving on a street they shouldn't be on, or if there's traffic calming measures, they're put in place. So we anticipate that all of those things will be done as part of our process. Now, let me point out that if this property were developed under the current land use and zoning, you would very likely have a driveway going out of the shopping center or office building onto 2nd Street that would be carrying general traffic from that office building or shopping center. As you see from our plan, it is a very small amount of traffic that would go on to 2nd Street because we're putting everything for our residents in and out of Federal Highway. One of the speakers asked, what's the difference between moderate and irregular residential? Irregular simply means that you have an uneven number. You have a number with a decimal point. You don't have one of the standard numbers. Moderate, I believe, is, I'm not even sure, I think moderate might be 16 units an acre, medium high is 25, high 50, et cetera. These are all categories in the Broward County Land Use Plan. Irregular simply means it's not an even number. A question about affordable housing. We did an affordable housing study for the county. It actually shows that Deerfield Beach has an adequate supply of affordable housing. Notwithstanding that, we are going to pay to the city of Deerfield Beach when we receive our first building permit, $500 per unit to the city's affordable housing fund, which is $138,500. So even though the study meets the requirements for affordable housing, because Deerfield does have a good supply of affordable housing, we are making that contribution. Those were the things I heard, but I must admit, when the city clerk was reading that first letter, I couldn't hear everything. So if I missed anything, please let me know.
Madam Clerk, were there any questions in the letter that she read that needed to be answered? Just make sure. What about the cut through traffic?
So that's what I was saying. I believe that we can address that issue. We do have a U-turn at 4th, but I know what Kent was saying. So we would work with our traffic engineers, with yours. If we need to do some traffic calming, if there's speed humps that are needed or some other mechanism that will discourage people from doing that, we will make that effort with you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Preston.
Whenever you do a presentation like this and you get the public to respond, it's always a valuable source of information. I know that the developer would like to be able just to put the plan in place, and you would hope in the end that it would just, everything would work great, but that's not how it works. And so, you know, I'm going to ask that you reach out to the residents of the community. What are their concerns? Hear their concerns and be able to explain to them in detail, here is what we propose related to this, this hurdle or this challenge that, that the community, it might not even be a challenge as much as, they may think it is. But if the developer and you as a representative can hear their concerns and try to help them through the process, it may go a long way.
You have our commitment that we will have as many meetings with the neighbors as they want to have with us at any time. Right now, it's the Zoom situation, hopefully soon in person again, but absolutely we will do that.
Okay. I will say this, and when I did meet with Mr. Mealy, who's the developer for this project?
So the developer of this project is the Centrum Group based in Chicago. Their previous development experience in Deerfield Beach includes the redevelopment of the northeast corner of Hillsborough and Federal. I think there's a Walgreens and some other retail and restaurant uses there. They also built the Aldi on South Federal Highway. And then throughout other areas of South Florida, in the city of Hollywood and other places, they've done substantial residential development. So I will go back to many years ago when we were doing the redevelopment of the northeast corner of Federal and Hillsborough, right behind the Little Harbor neighborhood. There was an issue with a wall. And the neighbors said, you know, we really want you to tear down the wall we have and build a new one. And my client did that. These same folks did that. We went to each of the homeowners, we got a temporary construction easement, and we did exactly what they asked us to do. And so these are folks that are used to working with their neighbors.
Thank you. I will say this, and I was on the commission then. It was one of the first things I think I voted on a long time ago. The developer definitely does a great job of working with the residents. That's been the experience. One of the issues, if I remember correctly, going way back, is that just lighting that was facing towards the residential homes that were coming from a drive-through. And I know there was a lot of community meetings with the residents that were adjacent to it, and they were able to make a lot of accommodations. So I will say this, my experience with this developer here in the city is that they've done everything, that they do work with the residents. With that, I've always been very leery of zoning change along Federal Highway to residential. I've always felt the lots were a little too narrow. The encroachment on the residents directly behind was a little too close. I remember a few years back, the former mayor was in a rush to sell our fire station without a plan because she had a crony that had a buyer for that lot and wanted to put residential there, and I didn't think that was a good idea. And I'm not so sold on this idea, and that's what I told Mr. Mealy when I met with him. Traffic is a concern because here's the reality. You're going to see an increase in traffic. You have nothing there now. You go from nothing to something, you're going to see an increase. The difference is the zoning that exists now compared to the zoning they're proposing to change to would be worse than what they're proposing. And to give you an idea, if you take a look at where Sprouts is, that was a sleepy shopping center that was certainly in need of being revitalized. Once it revitalized, a lot of people came there. The traffic impact was tremendous. You're going to see that when you go from an empty lot or the Yeller building, which is very quiet right now, to change. You're going to see an impact. It will absolutely have an impact, regardless of which way this goes. It will have an impact on you because you go from 0 to nothing. Or from 0 to something. It's going to have an impact on it. But I do have concerns with taking residential directly onto Federal Highway, and I know that the traffic studies and there's traffic patterns that we can work out to fix that. Green space on Federal Highway is just not a practical thing. I think more to the point is what we need is some strong landscaping in our medians that have been taken away over the years, and that's really what we need. But you don't take a prime piece of real estate right on Federal Highway and make it a green space. It's really not, practical. With that said, though, I have concerns with the height. I have concerns with the encroachment on the residents behind them, and I told Mr. Mealy that I couldn't support this, but I think there's been some good points made. I may be inclined to approve the zoning change and save my nose for later when it comes to the site plan, but I'm still not convinced here tonight if I'm going to go that way, to be honest with you. It is, and maybe Mr. Powers can give us a little insight with the current zoning. Can you give us an idea of some of the other things that can possibly go in there?
Thanks again, Eric Powers, Director of Planning and Development Services, Deerfield Beach. B2 zoning district is an array of uses, anything from retail, commercial, you can do medical office, you can do restaurant, you can do nightclub, you can do recreational of some type. You know, so you could have a Subway, you could also have a restaurant that would have 200 seating capacity. So I mean, there's certainly it is a higher intensity use than that district.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think one of the key points that he brought up is nightclub or anything like that. Can you imagine having that there? They're allowed to be zoned in there. We would not be able to stop them if they were to come in and say we want to develop that because they don't require a zoning change. That zoning is allowed currently in place right now. So these are the kind of things that you juggle when you say what's the you want to see the city progress and move forward, but you have to juggle with what is the best possible use for that land that has the less impact on the residents that are close by. This may be it, but I think I'd want to hear a little bit more from my colleagues. Commissioner Preston.
Mary made a great point, because I can tell you, which I had not considered, but if there was a proposal to put a nightclub in there, and you couldn't stop the residents would really be upset then. As I said before, I believe that it is incumbent on the developer to reach out to the neighborhood. What are their concerns? And then try to mitigate those concerns with an appropriate plan. Let the residents know this. It's not about just building units, building a project and reaping the monetary benefits from that. Again, the people that live there, now, this is the core constituency of our city, and they must be heard, and their concerns must be looked at. And so I just simply need to be convinced that you're going to reach out to the community. I'm inclined to agree with this, so long as the residents are heard, their concerns are heard, and it's not just just listening. That you are actually serious about building communication and letting them know that their concerns are felt in a very serious manner.
Thank you. Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is vitally important that the residents that will be affected by this are involved in understanding what is happening and that their voices are heard. And some of the challenges that I've heard, lighting, you're going to have a 5-story building. Does that mean that there's going to be a huge spotlight in my backyard till, all hours of the night? Noise, not just green space, but, one of the other projects that we recently approved has a huge green facade over the parking garage. So I think, not making it a living building, but something that does bring some vegetation, some greenery to that area is important. If you go, as all of us have, from Boca into Deerfield using Federal Highway, you see a huge difference when you come over that bridge. In Boca, it's wide, it's green, it's pretty. You come over that bridge, you got the marina, and then, it's asphalt jungle. So I do, I believe in progress, I do, but we do have to make sure that we do it right. I echo the sentiment of the mayor. If your client wanted to put a nightclub there, there's nothing that we can do. And they would be within their rights to put a nightclub there. And that is all the reason why I am in favor of making this change. If nothing, to make sure that what goes there is something that is going to enhance the community and not detract from it. You know, if this client decides to move on to another, you know, another project and a new client comes in, we won't have an option. So that is the main reason why I am inclined to support this. And I will make a motion to support this and to approve it.
Okay, we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Hudak. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Drosky. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
No.
Item number 8 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 66, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 1 in general, Section 66-13, no-through truck zones of the city's Code of Ordinances to designate additional streets as no-through truck zones, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and an effective date. Second reading.
Staff. Mr. Sanchez, any comments?
No additional comments at this time, Mayor, as this is second reading. So if there's any additional questions from the commission, happy to address them.
Okay, is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? Not seeing any, City Clerk, go right ahead.
Yes, I have a letter and email from Donna LaVoy. Our neighbor just told me there is a plan afoot to change the curving on the east corner of Southeast 2nd Street and Southeast 4th Avenue. The plan, I am told, is to take a portion away so trucks do not go over the curb. I would like to voice an objection to this. I sat on a traffic calming committee for a year, and the curbing and plantings in the middle of 4th Ave is all we got. The idea is to discourage trucks from using the street. I don't care if they hurt their tires or axles. The hope is next time they come, they will not come down the street. As it is, there are 4 signs posted, no truck zones, that apparently cannot be read. I'm thinking we should change those to no truck signs that are the picture of a truck with a red line through them, internationally understood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else from the public. I'm going to close it to the public. Staff, do you have any comment to the public input?
Thank you, Mayor. I received the same comment from a resident earlier via email, and staff is not aware of that project at all. And so we responded to the resident to let them know that we have no intention of doing that. And if they have any additional questions or could tell us where that information is coming from, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Rumor mill is always fun. Commission.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Drosky, second by Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Item number 9 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 54, Pensions and Retirement, Article 4, Non-Uniform Employees Retirement Plan, Division 5, Benefits, Section 54-230, Internal Revenue Code compliance of the City Code of Ordinances to provide for compliance with the Secure Act, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and an effective date. This is second reading. I know the question was asked at the first reading as well. I think this is an update to reflect changes in the Internal Revenue Code about when you're required to take the beginning date of your distributions from a pension fund.
Okay. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? I'll close it to the public commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Drosky, second by Commissioner Preston. All, roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Here we are now at the public comment portion of tonight's agenda. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 additional minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. As a reminder to the public, this is the part of the meeting and public comment where you speak on items that are not on the agenda. If you have comments on an item that's on the agenda, the time to do that is during the public comment portion of that item. And no comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibilities shall be permitted.
Madam Clerk.
Michael Lubin, 16 Little Harbor Way. Please consider a ban on lawn blowers. Debris is blown into the street and clog up storm drains. Also, leaf and lawn cuttings are also blown into waterways. Recently, Fort Lauderdale is talking about a blower ban. Deerfield should do likewise. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the public care to comment? Yes, ma'am. Come on in.
My name is Lisa Farr. I live at 1100 Southeast 15th Avenue. First, I want to say thank you to Commissioner Hudak because he did answer my phone calls and returned my phone calls regarding the bridges of the home. Second, I'd like to thank all of you because I know it's really hard to conduct business, especially during COVID times. So I appreciate that. Okay. And I also understand that during these difficult times, it's very hard to obtain participation. So we would appreciate extending the survey completion date, the deadline. That would be great. I know that was stated before. I want to address safety because we had a tremendous flooding with all the hurricanes and the waves and the rains in South Florida. And when that happens, 10th Street gets flooded. It's terribly flooded. You can't even get your car even through the center of 10th Street. So I usually choose 15th Avenue, which means that I have to go over the bridge in order to avoid a flooded street. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out to you because I do make a conscious choice to use 15th Street, especially when there's flooding in our community. I would hope that the commission would use due diligence. I would recommend that we visit other neighboring communities. South Florida is full of neighborhoods with bridges. I'm sure this is not a unique problem just to the coast. There are many communities with canals and waterways. So I think we can find some examples that can help us find a bridge that will meet the needs of our community versus destroying it. Okay. My last and final comment is I appreciate Mr. Gantz, Mayor Gantz, your comments about transparency. It's really important for the neighbors to really understand that the commissioners are working together, are hearing us, are conducting forums and meetings in public places, seeking all comments. And so I really appreciate that you have touched on that you're here, that you're willing to listen to us. And I hope that you will seriously consider the results of the survey and that you will understand that we all love our community. We all love Deerfield Beach, and we think that the bridges make it a better place. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Come right up.
Hi, my name is Martin Silverman, and I live at 1248 Southeast 8th Street, Deerfield Beach, in the beautiful Cove area. before me. But I also like to ask a question about the flooding issues. Before the huge storm hit up, we noticed that on 12th Avenue and 8th Street, we're having problems with the drains. They are really filling to the limit, and we can't seem to be able to, just water accumulated in front of the homes. And I spoke with someone today, one of the maintenance workers that were working on a 800 pump unit on 10th Street, because that's where we have our problems there. And they explained to me that was because of the electricity, that it had an issue with the electricity, so the pump couldn't work. So are we looking at this closely? Do we have funding for the future for this? Issues that are going to pop up. Deerfield Beach is an older city, I suppose, with the infrastructure that's old. And then I know that we've done a lot of good work in the Cove area with the roundabouts before you got moved in. But what are we doing about this? We don't like the city to kind of share that with these residents how possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? Sure, come on up. And we will get answers to your questions at the end.
My name is Tom O'Day, and I live at 1529 Southeast 12th Court. And again, thanks to the commission for hearing us. I want to support the statements of Ms. Farr and Ms. Silverman regarding the bridges. And also I heard that there was a woman by the name of Ms. Lovato, I don't know personally, who has concerns about the size of the bridge. And she was immediately answered by Ms. Volak, I believe, who was an engineer. And I've seen some of her comments, the engineer's comments as well. It's interesting, I saw the presentation. The presentation talks about 50-foot bridge. However, as was brought out by previous speakers, there are other communities with bridges here in South Florida. For example, I understand there are 9 bridges in Lighthouse Point. Now, those bridges are only 28 to 32 feet wide. They're not 50 feet wide. I'm not sure that there's any need to have a bridge that wide. We've been pinging some engineers who've had experience in this, and the feedback we've gotten so far, with all due respect to Ms. Sigelic, is that perhaps there's some over-engineering on this. Is we really need a bridge that's 50 feet wide, the span of a length of canal that, what is it, 9 feet or something like that. So my question, I'll leave this with a question, is have we looked at other bridges, other communities? The bridge at 12th Avenue, for example, is 30 feet wide. Why would we have to look at a $2.5 million 50-foot wide bridge that's 5 or 6 feet tall? Is that really the right way to go? Do we really need that? Is that over engineering? Anyway, thanks very much. Appreciate your attention.
Anyone else? Sorry, I have to double check online. I'm going to close it to the public then. The flooding issues. City Manager, do you want Mr. Good or do you yourself want to comment on that?
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, Dave Santucci, City Manager. In regards to the flooding issues, I mean, keep in mind that what we've experienced over the past week is generally unprecedented for this area. We received approximately 12 to 18 inches of rain in a very short amount of time. And with a region that is already saturated and full of capacity, there just simply was nowhere for that water to go, and led to a lot of localized flooding in Broward County, including Deerfield Beach. Next week, we have 2 workshops for the Stormwater Master Plan public input portion, where we will be asking residents to participate and provide us their input into the areas in which they live and the flooding issues that they see day to day. Where we had the major flooding throughout the city as a result of Hurricane Eta really did expose the more vulnerable flooding areas that we have. And unfortunately, some of our residents even experienced flooding inside their home, which was extremely unfortunate, but even more unfortunate, not really the exception to the rule for Broward County on that night, as we generally really did well with our flooding, just simply because of where we are from a sea level compared to the rest of Broward County. We actually are a little bit higher than most of the rest of the county. Additionally, we do have a stormwater fund that is funding this master plan and has funded projects throughout the city already. But the stormwater master plan effort really here is to work with our engineers who are doing this study, work with the public, work with the commission so that we can identify and prioritize the areas that we need to address and in which order. So in terms of the flooding, we know that area is a top priority. It certainly is. And it will be further discussed next week and then of course placed into the master plan for funding and timeline.
Can you comment on the potential over-engineering of the bridges?
I think that's a very valid point, and right now there's no design of the bridges right now. It's all conceptual of what would need to be placed there. I think that the 50-foot limit is looking at the maximum kind of complete streets bridge that we could put there to include wide enough lanes, bike lanes, sidewalks, so on and so forth. So, we have to look at obviously the standards that will be required to build these bridges under, but I think that's a valid point, something that, if that's something that the city commission approves from a budgetary standpoint, sometime in the future, which would be the rebuilding of the bridges, because we certainly don't have the funding to do that at this point in time. That's something that would certainly be looked at in terms of how wide we would need to make the bridges from a compliancy issue, and then of course how wide we would need to make the bridges to add sort of the bells and whistles, and if that would be something that the city commission would want.
Thank you. To answer your question specifically on some of these, we did have pump failures that happened during ETA. We do have the money to be able to fix that. The stormwater feed that we have in the city here, Deerfield Beach, is relatively new. It's something that many cities have had for decades. That's not something we've had here. It's fairly new, and that's leading us up to the master stormwater plan to be able to address this. We had a couple of strange incidents on top of the very strange weather that we had that compounded it. And as Mr. Santucci said, we did have residents that you could see the watermark on their houses were encrusted into their homes, broke through the doors and through the walls. We had sections that they sent a picture at 3:30 in the morning to me of a fire hydrant that the only thing you could see that was still above water was just the very top nut that's on the top that they used to open it. So think about how deep that is. You can get an understanding, because that was also a water main break that someone had hit the water main while doing that. So we had some compounded issues, but we do have the ability to fix that, and that's what our goal is, to take care of that. Regarding the bridges, keep in mind though, like I said, that there is I feel that there somewhere in all of this, there are the solutions that'll work for us. But when you go around to other cities, and I think creativity is going to be key. I think we should be creative with this where we can. I think that's the key. But I caution people from going around looking at other bridges in other cities, because we don't know whether those are in compliance. We don't know if those are grandfathered in some way. We don't know if they have the same problems we're experiencing, because we're not in tune with what's happening with their political scene and what's going on in their commission meetings, where people are having the same arguments we are regarding a bridge that might need to be fixed or repaired. So, well, I think we do need to go out and look at what some of the options are. Keep in mind that there might be some hidden issues with them if we go around and start looking at other areas. Okay. I think we answered all the questions. I hope. Next.
Item number 10 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, reappointing members to the City of Deerfield Beach Non-Uniform Municipal Employee Retirement Committee, providing for service without compensation and providing an effective date.
Commission, is there anyone who'd like care to speak on this item? Let's see. Commissioner, we want to make a decision.
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Hudak, did you say something?
Motion to approve.
Okay. The motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Item number 11 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, appointing Alana Straussberg, Sandra Jackson, Denise Fulmore Tigner, Diane Chisholm, and Annette Mitchell to the African American Heritage Board, providing for an effective date.
Anyone from the public care to comment? I'll close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion from Commissioner Preston, second by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
We are now at the consent portion of the agenda. Items 12 through 18 are currently on consent. Mayor, if you want to hear these as a slate or
Is there anyone looking to pull anything from the consent agenda?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on any items between number 12 and number 18? Not seeing any. Anybody who's written in? Anyone online? Did not see that. I'll close it to the public. Commission. What's your wishes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion from Commissioner Preston, second from Commissioner Hudak. We have roll call on this, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Vance.
Yes.
Item number 19 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, extending the state of local emergency regarding COVID-19 until December 17th, 2020, authorizing the city manager to take appropriate actions, providing for an effective date. And if I may, Mayor, is it okay? I just wanted to note that the governor did extend the state of emergency to the state of Florida. It was actually pretty late on the night of the election, so I believe it goes through now January 3rd.
Yeah, obviously, that doesn't apply to public meetings.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. That public meeting order ended November 1st on the virtual meeting.
Okay.
Physical.
Excellent. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? I'll close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Hudak, second from Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Item number 20 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, establishing boundaries for commission districts as required by city charter, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Can you hear me? Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? I'll close it to the public. Commission. Commissioner Drosky, you have a hand raised.
I do. After the last meeting, the city staff went back and is proposing the districts remain as they are. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. I still believe that sliver west of I-95 geographically belongs better in District 4. To me, it just doesn't make any sense to have the second district go to I-95 and kind of skip over. It's kind of it just doesn't make sense to me. So I would like to see, there's only 6 voters in that track. So it's not going to make any deviation in the numbers. So to me, it makes more sense. That's what I would like to see, but I know it takes cooperation from my colleagues.
I can support that. I don't have a problem with that. Neither do I. You want to make a motion?
So I would, I don't know how to identify that tract, but I'd like a motion to approve the districts as they are, with the exception that
Commissioner, if I may, if you could just look up at the screen in anticipation of that. We did provide, in anticipation of this, and after the discussions that were had, we wanted to make sure that we're obviously prepared. So we do have that as exhibit number 5 here. And I'll leave it to the city attorney to make further adjustments.
So can I just make the motion to approve based upon exhibit 5?
Yeah, so I think the current item before you has a specific exhibit tied to it, so approve, with the amendment to stipulate that it's exhibit 5, as exhibit A for the item versus I think currently it's exhibit 4.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Krosky, second by Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Item number 21 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the rankings and funding allocations to charitable and public purpose organizations for the Community Participation Grant Program, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? I'll close it to the public. Commission. Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. I first of all would like to thank staff for doing the dirty work on this and taking the time and evaluating these applications and coming up with a strategy. I'm certainly willing to listen to my colleagues if you want to adjust any of these numbers. I'm satisfied the way that is presented to us. But I would like to thank staff for really doing the heavy lifting on this. I think this process works better than the commission having to come up with the initial rankings. And so I look forward to any adjustments or tweaks by my colleagues, but otherwise I'm fine with the way that it is. But again, thank you to staff for doing this.
Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am not looking to make any adjustments in the staff recommendations. I too want to thank them very much for their due diligence. There were a lot of organizations that do a lot of great things for our community and local communities in South Florida. And I wish we would have been able to give to them what we've done in the past. But unfortunately, as everybody knows, the city has been adversely affected, monetarily by COVID. And we had to make those adjustments. I wish we had more to give to these fine organizations. I applaud city staff for the organizations that we were able to give funds to. And I do hope in the future, as things turn around, we'll be able to give more because these are all worthy organizations. They do a tremendous amount of good to our community as a whole. And I definitely want to be able to support them more in the future. And I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the numbers as submitted by city staff.
You have a motion with Commissioner Preston.
Yeah, just before we go on, I too would like to thank staff for what they've done. However, I would have adjusted those numbers a little bit more. As I was looking at that, I struggle. I just think that the input that the commission have with staff is important. We just need to remember that. When you look at the recommended funding and what they came up with, I just would have been a little bit different with some of them. But I still think they did a good job with it. When these sort of things come up, I'm just going to urge my colleagues to not just put it on staff, actually take a look at this, have your opinion about it. I think you ought to be able to a bad job.
I'm not gonna thank staff. Just kidding. Commissioner Hudak, you have a motion on the table.
Second.
We have a second. Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Dance.
Yes.
Item number 22 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the agreement with Petrocard Inc. for compressed natural gas fueling services on an as-needed basis, waiving the city's competitive selection requirements to authorize the city to enter into an agreement with Petrocard Inc. for CNG fueling services, authorizing execution of the agreement and providing an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public here to comment on the side? I'll close it to the public commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hudak, second by Commissioner Drosky. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
and Mayor Dance.
Yes.
Item number 23 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, supporting the wide sidewalk off-road shared use path project to connect the city's Trailhead Linear Park, Quiet Waters Park, authorizing the submission of Cycle 5 application to the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization for complete streets localized initiative program funding for the project, authorizing execution of a grant agreement, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public here to comment on this item? Not seeing any, I'll close it to the public. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Drosky, second from Commissioner Preston. All in favor, say aye.
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 Item number 24 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the evaluation committee's ranking of proposals pursuant to request for proposal number 20-34-PC for design build construction for Center for Active Aging, authorizing the city manager to commence contract negotiations and then enter into a contract with Ship Construction Development, Inc., the top ranked firm, in an amount not to exceed $10,456,149.32, provided for conflict severability and effective date.
Is there anyone from the public here to make a comment? I'll close it to the public. Yeah, now they're quiet. So much interest in this. Commission.
I've raised my hand, Mr. Mayor. I have
Oh, sorry.
that's quite all right. So the dollar amount spread between the applicants was over $1 million. And as I had stated in my comments in a previous commission with regards to the city of Pompano's fire station, a bidder came in with a low number. They won the bid. And by the time it was all said and done, the project was almost double in cost. So I'd like to know what protection the city has, against upcharges and the like, to make sure that when this project is over and done with, it doesn't cost us $12 million. And it does stick with this $10.4 million that this current leading candidate proposed.
Steph.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Hudak, to address your question, there's a few things there. This contract is a not to exceed amount. Each bidder was supposed to provide a definitive not to exceed amount. Additionally, I will say that built into the contract will be many safeguards for the city that I'm sure the city attorney will ensure are in there, such as liquidated damages, performance bonds, payment bonds, and the like. Also, I do want to say that it isn't abnormal to see change orders in contracts this large for various reasons. We're seeing, we just talked about one last night, right? So at the CRA meeting. So to say that there's not going to be a change order, I think that's unrealistic on a project this size, but the fact that they be having not to exceed amount, and that puts a lot of the risk on the design build firm. And we specifically did this method. One of the reasons we did this method was because of that. We do have those things in place. Of course, there's never any guarantees in a construction project, but staff feels comfortable with the firm being a number 2 ranked firm. They're unanimous in their decision. Again, we do have this not to exceed amount that was submitted, and we'll have contract language to provide protections to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santucci. Then
I
I'll.
want to say this, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hudak.
No, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
Then I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
It was second from Commissioner Drosky, motion made by Commissioner Hudak. Before I call the vote, I just want to say this, it's pretty clear. This is our 3rd try with this, and it's just been a bumpy road to get to this point. I think we have an outstanding firm here, and happy to bring them on board with this. But let's not pretend that this process hasn't been tainted by certain people with a vendetta against people who did not support people that they wanted to support. The tone, the smears, the insinuations, and the flat out lies are pretty disgusting. And to have someone, and while there were mistakes made, and certainly I think the city commission did exactly what they were supposed to do to correct those. And in the end, we end up with a lot more competition, which is always great for us. But mere fact that there were so many people so interested in this, and suddenly once one bidder is removed, they're silent on this project, tells you that this has been more about personalities than it's been about process or anything else regarding this project itself. Quite frankly, I think it's pretty disgusting what happened. It wasn't fair to Seawood Builders or the Massey's to be drugged through the mud the way they were. And whatever their mistakes were, certainly they were corrected. But I think what took place was pretty disgusting, in my opinion. With that, I'll call the vote.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Gaines.
Yes.
Item number 25 was pulled from the agenda. Item number 26 is a request for a motion to approve an emergency purchase for repair services for Fire Station 75 and authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Johnson Lux Construction LLC pursuant to Easy IQC contract number FLNEAGC 04041019-JLC under the city's emergency procurement policy, section 38-133 exempt procurements, emergency procurements, in the amount of $97,121.81.
Amazing to do that with the mask on. Good job.
Thank you.
City manager, you want to give us a little update on this since this is a new addition?
Thank you, Mayor, and I do my very best not to amend the agenda, but the situation really warranted it in this case. As you are aware, the Fire Station 75 has building envelope issues that are causing water intrusion, and we currently have our fire rescue staff operating out of the nearby facility. That has not had any impacts to operations. But the first thing we need to do is we need to seal up that envelope. And these repairs come from a process of a competitive process through the Gordian Group that has competitively selected various contractors to participate in job order contracting. We have used this successfully in the past, and I have found that this works well with minor repair and emergency repair type work, and this certainly fits that bill. So we did go through a procurement process to find this contractor, and we just received the proposal today for what the costs will be. We had a bit of design work to do, some engineering that needed to be looked at. Once it was determined what those repairs would actually need to be to seal up this building, we obviously are at the stage now where we received this quote. So again, we received this today, and we obviously want to move it as expeditiously as possible to make those repairs to that building. And again, the cost is estimated at $97,000. I have a $50,000 threshold in the emergency procurement ordinance with up to $100,000 with approval of the city commission. So this is a motion for that approval.
You from the public care comment on the side. Close it to the public commission.
Do we have any idea how long the repairs will take?
So we just, like I said, we did just get this proposal today. We still have to work with the contractor on the logistics of everything. We're obviously going to let them know that this needs to be a very high priority and that we expect that this will be very quickly done. What I can tell you is that in the proposal, you will see the cost of rental of equipment for 30 days. So that is an indication to me that they're looking at about a 30-day time frame for the repairs to take place. Once the repairs take place, we do need to do some more interior work, but obviously it doesn't make sense to do that until we've taken care of the outside. But we'll be able to do that at least with some overlap. As soon as that building is sealed up, we'll be able to get into the interior. So I'm telling you 30 days, but I think there needs to be an expectation that it'll be a little bit longer before we get that building back on.
Okay, I just don't want to go into the same situation we have with the Kirk Cottrell Pavilion where it's extension after extension after extension. But I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Motion, Commissioner Hudak to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
We are now at comments by administration and legal. I'll go first. Just want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving when we have that coming up, because I don't think we have a meeting between then and now, and I have no further comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The first thing I'd like to do is I would like to thank all of the city staff who responded to Tropical Storm at a very different storm than what we are used to, where we see in the past a lot of debris generated activity, where in this case, this was a flooding event, and it certainly it tested us. I want to just thank everybody for the response that they had, especially those who responded in the middle of the night when that flash flooding was occurring. So there may have been others, but I do know of Mr. Mike Gilbert and Dennis Mosley, who responded in the middle of the night to the issues that were occurring there off of 8th and 9th. So thank you very much for that. I know it was an uphill battle, but you did great out there, and I appreciate that. And as I did say, it was just an unprecedented rain event here for South Florida. The city of Deerfield Beach saw somewhere between 10 to 18 inches of rain in a very, very short amount of time. And when the water has nowhere to go, the water has nowhere to go. But I will say that I think it was in less than about 18 hours, all the residential streets and main thoroughfares were clear, including Deer Run, which was just a major issue for those residents. And just proud of the crews for addressing that and getting that done in a timely manner. I think by morning they were completely clear. We are not out of the woods yet, though. I do just want to caution the commission and staff and the public that this storm likely will dump some more rain on us over the coming days, as it has seemed to finally turn a little bit to the north now and is going to head running parallel with the west coast of Florida. And so it is anticipated that we will see some more rain. And again, when your cup is full, the water can do nothing but spill over, and we're very saturated right now. So we're going to take a close eye on that as we move forward, and staff is very aware of the potential for additional flooding, and will respond accordingly for our citizens and our residents. I also just would like to take a moment to thank the City Commission for adjusting to this semi-virtual meeting, as Mr. Soroka indicated that we no longer have the ability to hold all virtual meetings. And so when we were making the transition, working with staff, coming down here to see how we're going to do this, it became very evident that the days can be a little tight with everybody who is normally up there, which is the reason why both myself and the city attorney are off to the side, and that we have two commissioners not in physically present. So I just want to thank the commissioners for, as I spoke with you all individually, buying into the idea of trading off one meeting being virtual, one meeting being in person. That way we can still hold a quorum, but we can do it in a safe and effective way. So I just want to thank you again for your support on that and making that happen. Other than that, just wishing all the veterans happy Veterans Day. And those are all my comments for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item. 27.
Next item is number 27, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, urging the Florida Department of Transportation to revert back to FDOT's prior funding and administration practices for complete streets and other localized initiative programs, C-SLIP projects on local roadways, providing for distribution and effective date.
I'm sure staff can do a better job of summarizing this for us, but I will tell you this: what this change has done is put a very unfair burden back on the cities on a lot of these projects. We're hoping that FDOT changes their ways and goes back to the way they handle this. You want to give some comment?
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to piggyback a little bit off of your comments and for supporting this item, because from a staff perspective, this is really not good for the city of Deerfield Beach, or really for any city here in Broward County. What has really happened here is that, for reasons unbeknownst to us, the process for the C-SLIP projects has changed. Whereas these were within the current 5-year plan up to now, they were fully funded projects through FDOT and the MPO. And recently, that has changed. And what they basically said, well, first they said, we're not going to affect. This is a change to come, but we're not going to affect your current 5-year cycle projects. And then that seemed to change a little bit. And lo and behold, we are going to be affected by one of our projects that is currently in the 5-year plan, where they said this is going to now be converted to what they call a LAP project. And for any roadway or streets engineers or public works folks, the word LAP tends to give you a lot of angst, because it is just an arduous process. It is a process that has evolved over time and has become just one of the most difficult grants to deal with, in my opinion, well beyond, I would say, things like a FEMA grant or those sorts of things. But really what's happened here is they've said, well, even though your city commission has passed a resolution in support of this project previously, under the old or the current, for now at least, C-SLIP process, we're no longer going to do that, and we're going to pull this project from the old process. It's going to become a LAP process. Oh, and by the way, your city must make a commitment, at least the city manager has to make a commitment to go down this path by January 1st, 2021, and then we will need a resolution of support from your city commission by February 15th. So they really put us on our heels here, because at this point we've got probably a $3 million project that we anticipated to be fully funded by them. And now it looks to be about, we're going to have about a third of the cost, about $1 million. And that's just in the design that we see. Not to mention, we don't know at this point what the lap requirements are going to be, because we have done lap projects in the past, but they've been project-based. And now we're being told we need to become agency-wide lap certified. And we still don't have clarity on what that means and what that's going to entail. So just not a very, not a good thing to hear in terms of this change for not only this specific project, but for all of our C-slip projects that will be done on the local roadways moving forward. And that's one of the things that I want to emphasize is that this will affect all the projects on our local roads. If it is a state road, obviously they typically like to have full control over that and will not be charging us or making us responsible for the design on those particular projects. But the project that will be affected, that's in the current 5-year plan, is the label here, excuse me. Well, this is the Crystal. It's a project on Crystal Lake, and it includes construction of 5-foot wide sidewalks, lighting, a roundabout at Crystal Lake Drive, Northwest 45th Street, milling and resurfacing, and ADA compliancy. And what's interesting is what was in the 5-year plan was the first phase of the design. So they're asking us to make a commitment to go down the lap process for a project that they wouldn't fund for construction until the following 5-year process, which makes it a little bit more confusing as well. So there's a lot of things at play here. Hopefully I provided a little bit of perspective on the amount of confusion that there is with all of this and how it's really not helpful for us at all, in my opinion. And again, I want to thank you, Mayor, for supporting this item.
Absolutely. Any from the public here to comment on this item? Close it to the public commission. Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. So once again, Florida Department of Transportation is making it not only harder, but more expensive to do projects. And that's what I love about this commission, is because I think the mayor totally underplayed this tonight. I mean, as our representative to the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization, I thank him so much for bringing this information back to the commission, because this is something ordinarily I probably would not have found out about on my own. And all 5 of us work together as a body and bring these things back to each other when we find them to be important. And so I thank you for bringing this back to the commission. It's an extremely important topic. And again, I think you underplayed your importance in bringing this back tonight, but I want to thank you very much for doing that. And when we send this out, this resolution, I don't think it's something we should just pass to make ourselves feel good. I mean, I think this should be sent to our sister cities. I think it should be sent to the Broward League of Cities, the Florida League of Cities. I would even send this to the Florida Department of Transportation, the District 4 office, and the one in Tallahassee, and get this out there. Maybe we'll get some traction from some of the municipalities around us that this is not a good idea, and that the cities are going to push back. So I would disseminate this as wide and far as we can. And thank you again, Mayor, for bringing this to our attention.
I'll be honest with you, I want to give staff all the credit on this. They've done a great job as far as really ferreting this out, knowing what the issues are on it and the impact on us. And they've done a great job of educating me as far as the impact on it. So, that's what we do. We bring this stuff forward and we kind of fight together. And I agree with you. We need to put this out to everyone, as you mentioned, to try to see if we can get some traction on this, because this is just not a good thing for any of us. So we're looking for a motion. Do we have one from you, Commissioner Drosky?
You do. Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Drosky, second by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
You are now at comments by Mayor and City Commission.
Let's go with District 4.
I knew it. I didn't have all my notes in front of me. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to speak. First of all, I would, Veterans Day tomorrow, I'd like to thank all of our veterans for serving, and we have some here in the city of Deerfield Beach, in addition to many individuals amongst us in our staff and in our departments. At the commission level, we do as well. We have Commissioner Hudak, which is served in the Air Force, correct, Mr. Hudak?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Parnes, who's not here tonight, who I believe was in the Army, if I'm not mistaken. We have our city manager, Mr. Santucci, and even yourself, Commissioner Preston, anyone that serves our communities, anyone that helps the betterment of mankind, and you being a firefighter here in the city of Deerfield Beach, you are a veteran in my book as well. Anyone that serves is a veteran. So I thank all of you. I did not have the opportunity to do so, and I'm kind of jealous for that, but life takes us in different directions. But for those of you who did serve, thank you for your service, and it was well deserved, and enjoy the holiday dedicated to you tomorrow. I want to piggyback on this city manager's comments regarding the tropical storm, in particular Deer Run community in my district, which was very hard hit. I want to thank the city manager for deploying the resources. The water was at extremely high levels there, and I look forward. It's a good segue to next week on Tuesday and Wednesday night. Next week from 7 to 9 p.m. each night. It's the same presentation, I understand, each night regarding stormwater. I think that would be the perfect opportunity for the residents to make their opinions known. I mean, obviously, Deer Run, and there's certain areas in the eastern part of the city that are clearly identifiable from the storm, but if there are other areas and residents that are listening, but please make your opinions known and come to us as we have these stormwater workshops. I think now is the perfect opportunity to have your voice heard. And even if you are in the communities that were mentioned tonight, I still think it would be a good idea for you to attend the workshops next week and to learn more about how your city is moving forward on this, what is now a very important issue. Third, I want to thank staff for a great Haunted Arboretum event that they sponsored on Friday, October 30th. I don't want to mention names because every time I do, I miss somebody. And I have the master list of those individuals that were involved, and there's 44 individuals between staff and volunteers that made that event happen and very special. And it was actually a first-class event. It wasn't some kind of cheap haunted house. I mean, this is something that they had really thought through, and the costumes are great, and the way that they use the arboretum to have it, haunted, and the lighting, and it was very well thought out. And it was family friendly, but creepy enough for the youngsters to kind of put a little scare into them, but not to the point where it was still family friendly. And I think staff did a great job. And I was there. I saw Commissioner Hudak there as well. And so I thought it was a great event. I can't really say enough about it, not just because it was in my district, just because how professional it was. And I'm very curious every time staff raises the bar on these events, what they're gonna do next. It's hard to keep raising that bar, so I look forward to see what's next. Next is number 4 on my list is that Commissioner Hudak and I had an opportunity to attend. I think my other colleagues were. It was an online webinar regarding the opioid crisis here in the United States. And the title of the seminar or webinar was Confronting the Opioid Crisis. And basically the presenter made the factual argument that during COVID, with more individuals at home, with more stress in individuals' lives, with unemployment and other issues that are affecting our country, the opioid abuse has skyrocketed in this country, absolutely skyrocketed. I think they said that they see typically a less than 10% increase per year. And this year alone, it is in the neighborhood of a 70% increase. The numbers are just through the roof, and the number of people that are dying in this country, it is a crisis that nobody is talking about, and that nobody is understanding. We put COVID to the forefront as we should, but there is another crisis developing in this country. And to that end, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is not only to mention the numbers and the stark reality out there, but also is to mention to our city attorney is that we joined the opioid lawsuit, and if he could maybe give us an update next month at our meeting in December as to where that stands, that would maybe be a good indication, to the cities. I know there's some developments, with the companies that are involved, but if he could just give us an update with respect to that litigation, that would be appreciated. And last but not least, I think as the city manager mentioned, later in the month, before our next meeting is the Thanksgiving holiday. So we have so much to be thankful for in this country. It really goes without saying. You look, at the countries around us and in the world, and the opportunities and the liberties that we have in this country are just absolutely amazing. Do we have work to be done? Absolutely. And there's a lot of things that we can do better going forward, but where we stand now, we're not too bad compared to the rest of the world. So I do want to, I for one am very thankful for everything that has been bestowed upon me. And I'm extremely thankful for serving with you gentlemen up here on this dais on a bi-weekly basis, because we bring not only good arguments, but issues before us. The debate, once again, is always factual. It's never personal, and everyone brings their A game to these meetings. And I said it before, because remember when we had the Broward League of Cities, when we presented them with their certificates for the CARES Act? We are the envy of Broward County. Our sister cities do not have meetings that run as efficiently as our mayor runs ours. The debate is not as cordial as we have it. And so the feedback that I've been hearing has been very positive. So we are very fortunate to be in the position that we are here in the city of Deerfield Beach. And I continue to look forward to working with you. So with that, I have nothing further.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Straussberg. Feeling very mutual. Next, we have District 3. Right. Just kidding. We do wish Commissioner Parnas, or Vice Mayor Parnas, all the best, and hope he's will be feeling better soon. District 2.
Yes. Before I get going, Mayor, I'd like to ask the city manager a question. I looked here on the desk, and there, to me, is enough room for all of us to be here. Whose idea was it to do this and why?
Yes, again, Commissioner, that was, if the commission wants to, if you feel as though there's enough room and all five of you do, then that's fine with me. But this was my idea, and again, it was just a means to recognize that best thing for all of us to do still is to do the 6 feet social distancing. Want to make sure that obviously the city commission remains healthy, and that there is no such there's no type of outbreak within our local government here. So this was my idea, and again, I did speak with each one of you individually, and thank you for buying into this concept. Hopefully it's working. I know it's the first time, probably need to work on some volume issues, but we'll do that. But again, it's for hopefully just for the safety of everyone.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I just wanted a little clarity on that. And I think that that's a good thing, actually, when I think about it, that you did, and you thought about this, think about the safety of the bids. Thank you. I'm having a district meeting on December the 3rd, 7 p.m. It will be over at Odita Makita. It will be in the gym. And we'll have a full agenda of items that we will be going over. So that is again a district meeting for District 2 on December the 3rd, 7 p.m. over at Odita Makita. I am going to say that Pastor Ford Linear Park needs to be immediately pressure cleaned, immediately. I do my walking in the morning. I try to, get my time in. And one morning I was walking, some ladies said, "There's the commissioner right there." And they told me of their issue, and they were really, "Commissioner, I almost fell," and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm not gonna say that I was ignoring anybody. I was listening to them. But I was just, I did talk to staff at that time. But just the other day, I was just walking and I almost slipped. It is a problem. We need to address this immediately before we get somebody hurt. That's one. And two, some of the residents from District 2 came to visit me and challenged me about the trucks that are leaking oil. And I told them, well, we have a process. And they said, "This is not good, Commissioner." And they asked me to go with them. I did do that. We actually didn't just drive in District 2, we drove in other areas. And they said, "You can see that this is a problem here." So we need to address that as well. We need an immediate cleanup in some of the areas in District 2. It is absolutely atrocious. Now, I have oil on my street as well. And it has not, I was told that we were gonna have a process to take care of it. And I really believe that. And but some of the places in District 2, it is terrible. And when they showed them to me, I told them that I would bring it to staff's attention. And so whatever the process is, we need to escalate it because it's not good. So, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, again, happy Veterans Day, not only to those who serve, but also to their family members. All too often, we forget about the spouse that is left behind when the soldier or the airman deploy, and they're left behind to take care of the family and to do all of the difficult jobs of keeping the kids safe and running the household. So also a happy Veterans Day to them. It takes, a very special people to serve in the military, and the spouses of those individuals are equally as special. This Saturday, we will have our District 1 meetings from my office hours are from 10 to 12. I'm not sure if there are any more spots available. They were scooped up pretty quick, but please reach out to Erica, and if we need to extend it a little bit, I'm more than willing to go ahead and extend our office hours as needed. I do ask city staff to please extend the survey to the end of the month of November. So if we can extend it to November 30th, as per the wishes of numerous residents that we heard from today. I know we've extended it once, and I do appreciate that. So I ask that we go ahead and extend it to November 30th, if that is possible, to make sure everybody has an opportunity to voice their opinion. Again, I do implore all Cove residents to please view the presentation first and foremost. I'm glad that there are as many people passionate about this as they are, but please do not have your sole source of information being social media. It is vitally important that you get the true facts on this issue, which is something that will and can potentially affect your community. So it's vitally important that you get the facts and that you take the survey. Once again, the size of the bridge and the mock-up of the bridge are just artist renderings at this time. But I do believe that there is room to make sure that those bridges are community friendly. I've been out to numerous residents, not only some residents who actually border those bridges. The current road is 22 feet long, or 22 feet wide. And to put in a 50-foot wide bridge, in my humble opinion, is not warranted. And I'm hopeful that we can have an engineering solution that makes the bridge friendly to the community, as well as compliant with DOT standards as needed. I think that's extremely important. We have touched on the flooding that our community has faced over the last 48 hours. And I too want to thank staff, my street, as well as Southeast 9th, or Southeast 8th, I'm sorry, experienced a lot of flooding, as well did many homes in our community. And I know staff was out there doing everything they possibly can, and I do appreciate that tremendously. I do implore the residents to please attend the meeting on either Tuesday or Wednesday evening when we talk about our stormwater master plan. Just as important are those bridges to the Cove community, the stormwater master plan is even more important to the lifeblood of our community. And I hope you are as passionate about that important issue as you are about the bridges. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will say with the flooding, I do want to thank staff for being out there in the middle of the night, working hard on this. It was not easy. There was a lot of complications. I will say that we need to kind of come up with a better plan when it comes to informing residents of what's occurred, keeping them in the loop about with facts as far as some of the issues that we have and treated with a customer service type feel. I want to thank Tom Good for going out and working with some residents that have some concerns today. He definitely got high marks for his customer service on that, but we need to expand that because we do have an entire street in the center of the city that actually had water crests into the homes, and I think those residents are left with a lot of questions. And I think we need to do a better job when it comes to follow up on this and information. Veterans Day, I believe, is actually tomorrow here for 2020. Tomorrow is Veterans Day. Again, to all the veterans, we thank you for your service, including my colleagues and our city manager who sit up here. My understanding is the lighting on Hillsborough Boulevard is out anywhere, I know, from at least Little Harbor going west and east. So if we could please look into that. My understanding is reported this several times. Still has not been fixed. We need to look out for our street lighting, especially with these types of storms. We need that street lighting out there. I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. We won't get to see you before we won't have another meeting before Thanksgiving, but please have a safe holiday. This has been a heck of a year, and cherish the people that you love and enjoy your time with family. Please be safe. I'm going to embarrass one employee because by the next time we meet, my understanding is she will no longer be with our city, but Vicki Placid-Picard will be leaving us. And that is a tremendous loss for the city of Deerfield Beach. She has been one of the rock stars, in my opinion, in what she does, not only dealing with staff, governmental agencies, but the residents themselves. Many of them were in great need. And Vicki has done a fantastic job. I have admired her work, and I wish her well, as we all do. But I did not want to leave that unsaid because it's a tremendous loss, and we wish you the best, Vicki. With that, that's my comments. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.